Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto changes his personality after the Academy Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. You bastard! Screamed Naruto as he knelt over Sasuke's limp body. The figure in the mirror said nothing as Naruto swore his death and more. Ominous red chakra began to flow through Naruto's body. The boy Haku felt the sudden increase of chakra and flung 3 of his needles at the young boy. The 3 needle found birth deep in Naruto's right eye. Naruto screamed out in pain, clutching at his eye. Fighting through his pain, Naruto wrenched the needles free. Blood flowed from his eye and down his face. Haku was a bit taken aback. The boy could still move. He was about to attack again when he felt a great surge of chakra. He gasped and halted his attack. Zabuza was in trouble. He fled the fight, allowing his crystal ice mirror's jutsu to collapse. Completely disregarding his fleeing, Naruto rushed to Sasuke's side. "Sasuke," he said. "Sasuke!" The young Uchiha's eyes slowly opened, his newly discovered sharing and shining bright. "Naruto," he said, "I'm going to die, aren't I?" Naruto shook his head violently. "No, you can't die," he said, pulling Sasuke's head into his arms and lap. "You have to restore the Uchiha clan, you have to kill that guy. I'll help, we can do it together, just don't die." "It's too late, Naruto," stammered Sasuke. "I can't feel my body, I can hardly breathe." He hit my lung. "It's full of blood." "Naruto, I'm so sorry. I was so cruel. I was threatened by your quick growth, but some good came of that. We made each other better. We were good for one another. But now I must leave you. I'm sorry I can't help you anymore. We could have been great friends." Sasuke's Sharingan eyes came into focus, focusing on Naruto's closed right eye. "He hit your eye." Naruto nodded. "I don't think I'm going to be able to use it ever again, Sasuke," he said. A small smile played on Sasuke's lips. "Maybe I can help you one last time," he said here. He slowly placed 2 fingers over his right Sharingan, the completed eye. Then with his left hand he made AC over Naruto's right eye, opening the wounded eye and touching the white his eye with his thumb and index finger. "Naruto, don't give up on your dream, become Hokage. Take my Sharingan, let my eye show you the path you must take. Naruto, we'll always be together. We'll always be friends. Transfer jutsu." Naruto heard himself scream as pain lanced through his eye again. It felt like he had the needle in it again, only this time they'd been heated cherry red. The pain was unbearable, and as soon as it began to lessen, Naruto collapsed next to his dead friend. The chakra pulsed in his hand, lightning blade. Named as such when he used it to cut a bolt of lightning in half. He glared at Zabuza, who was in the jaws of several of his ninja hounds. "I won't let you kill Tazuna, he's a good man with a good purpose," Kakashi said. "Your purpose, however, ends here." That said, he rushed at Zabuza, the Chidori sparkling in his hand. The flash caused by the attack hitting flesh blinded his for a slight moment before quickly vanishing. His eyes widened as he saw his victim. It was not Zabuza but instead the boy Haku. Kakashi's eyes turned to where the boy had been. His 2 male students lay lifeless. He wrenched his hand free of the corpse and leapt away. Zabuza was about to attack again when he heard a small chuckle. Kakashi looked to his left as Zabuza looked to his right. There stood Gato, surrounded by 50 men. "Well, this isn't going as planned," said Gato. "The idea was for you 2 to kill each other off. But you're both alive. Zabuza, sorry, but I can't have you on the payroll anymore, you're too expensive." Zabuza let out a small chuckle. "Well, Kakashi," he said, "our battle seems to be over. Now that I'm no longer in Gato's employment, we have no quarrel." "Guess you're right," said Kakashi. "However, the hounds of yours have rendered my arms completely useless," he said, "and I have to make Gato pay for betraying me. Mind if I borrow your kunai?" he asked as he torn his mask off with his teeth. "Sure," said Kakashi and tossed one of his kunai to the demon of the mist. Zabuza caught the knife in his mouth and took off racing after Gato, his limp arms trailing behind him. Gato let out a small gasp before turning and fleeing into the ranks of his men. Zabuza followed him, cutting his way through them until he reached the other end. There he drove the kunai into Gato's chest, yanked it out, and slashed him across the throat. Gato's body flew off the bridge and into the sea. As soon as Gato's body hit the water, a countless number of blades sunk into Zabuza's back. Zabuza turned and stumbled out of the mob, where he fell next to Haku, and died staring the boy he loved like a son in the eyes. Kakashi turned to the mob and watched as they came to terms with what had just happened. He knew that as soon as they realized they just lost their meal title, they would resort to more drastic measures, like raiding the village. They turned grumbling amongst themselves and started to advance on Kakashi. Just as they came close, an arrow sunk into the bridge. Kakashi turned and saw that the entire village had come to defend their home, and leading the pack was Irani. Kakashi smiled under his mask. Naruto. You've done it. He turned and faced the mobsters with the villager at his back. Seeing that they were outnumbered, the thugs quickly turned and left. Letting out a sigh, Kakashi pulled his headband over his left eye. It was over. He didn't know how right he was. Sasuke! Naruto! Came Sakura's distraught voice echo in his ears. Kakashi turned and ran to his students. Sakura, he said, and she turned and latched onto the front of his vest. Kakashi checked Sasuke first. Needles covered his body, including some in his left lung. He checked for a pulse. The last of the Uchiha was dead. Then he turned to Naruto. He was covered in needles as well, but when he checked for a pulse, he found one. It was faint but defiantly there. It was then he noticed Naruto's right eye had blood coming from it. Fearing the worst, Kakashi slowly opened the boy's right eyelid. What he found caused his breath to catch in his throat. There, in the right eye of Naruto Uzumaki, was a level 2 Sharingan. Naruto sat with his knees drawn up to his chest as he stared at a small stone headstone. He'd been here every day since the day he got back from the Land of Waves a month and a half ago. It was Sasuke's headstone. Here lies Sasuke Uchiha. Last of the Uchiha. A friend forever. He'd read the inscription thousands of times. With his left eye. His right had been wrapped in bandages since the moment he'd woke up. Sasuke had given him the Sharingan, but he had yet to see it. Kakashi insisted he kept it wrapped and a secret. As far as the village knew, Naruto had been severely wounded in the battle against the rogue ninja Zabuza while defending Sasuke after he went down. The only people who knew the real truth were Sakura and Kakashi. Not even the third knew. This of course brought more grief to Naruto, as many villagers saw the death of the last of the Uchiha his fault. He hadn't expected this. He had been getting treated better since making Genin. But now he was back to square one. Of course Iruka-sensei and Kakashi-sensei supported him as much they could, and Ayam and the old man at Ichiraku's helped a bit. Even old man Hokage visited him from time to time and even came to the headstone once and hugged him as he cried over his inability to protect a comrade. However, his biggest supporter, surprisingly enough, was Sakura. Yes, she had been upset and cried for a couple days. But she was nothing compared to Naruto. Naruto had been with Sasuke almost every day they were in the Land of Waves training together, and even though either of them had really wanted it, the root for a strong friendship had been planted. However, just as it seemed like that tree had began to grow, that root was ripped out. Sakura visited Naruto every day. She'd spend hours searching the village until she found him. Sometimes he would be in his apartment, which she now had a key for despite his protests. Sometimes he'd been on top of the Hokage monument on the fourth's head, but most commonly he was here, at Sasuke's grave. Before Sasuke's death, Sakura had never ever seen Naruto cry. After his death, Naruto cried 2 or 3 times a week. After a while, Naruto stood and walked back toward the village. His hands tucked in the pockets of his black pants. After the funeral, Naruto had gotten rid of everything that reminded him of Sasuke. That included his orange jumpsuit, which Sasuke used to tease him about from time to time. Now he wore a simple pair of black pants, black thong-style sandals, and a deep blood-red t-shirt. He wasn't wearing his headband. He hadn't wore it since he got back. He hadn't been a mission. He rubbed the bandage covering the right side of his face, thinking back to when he'd woken up. Flashback. Naruto hurt all over as he slowly opened his eyes. Well, one eye really, his other eye was covered in thick bandages. He slowly sat up and reached for the bandages, intent on taking them off. "Don't," came a familiar baritone voice. He turned to see Kakashi sitting in a chair next to him reading his book. "Your eye hasn't completely taken root and won't for the next 2 weeks. Leave the bandages on." Naruto let out a sad sigh and dropped his hands in his lap. A sad look on his face. "Sasuke is dead," said Kakashi. "I know," said Naruto flatly. Tears sprung up in his left eye. "I couldn't save him, Kakashi-sensei. Why couldn't I? I tried and tried. But everything I do I screw up. The graduation exam, your test that we only passed because of Sasuke, those stupid D-ranks where I kept letting my pride get in the way, and now, I've let Sasuke die." He sucked his knees to his chest, put his arms on his knees and cried. He couldn't remember how long it was for, but he knew it was a while. The whole time Kakashi stayed by him, knowing exactly what he was going through. Pride was the bane of many ninja, Kakashi included. Because of his foolishness and pride, Obito had died an unnecessary death. Now Naruto blamed himself for Sasuke's death. "Naruto," said Kakashi. Naruto looked up at him, his eye red and puffy. "Sasuke's death wasn't your fault. I know you. I've trained you for 6 months. I know you did anything and everything you could to save him. It hurts, believe me when I tell you I know what you're going through. But crying about it won't bring him back. It's okay to feel sad about losing him, but crying won't help." Kakashi said all this looking at the far wall. Finally he turned to Naruto. "However, on the reverse side of things, don't bear this burden alone either. Sakura and you are going through the same thing. Talk to her, talk to me, talk to all your friends back at the village. Don't just endure the weight of a lost comrade alone, it'll weigh you down, and you'll let it take over your entire life. Naruto, Sasuke has given a great gift, don't let it go waste by blaming yourself. It'll tear you up. We'll help each other, Kakashi finished with a small one-eye smile. Naruto's face fell back to look at his hands in his lap. The door opened, causing Naruto to look up and see the last person in the world he'd wanted to face, Sakura Haruno. He'd expected her to start yelling and screaming and insulting him and making him feel terrible. However, as soon as she saw the broken and defeated look in his eyes, she crumbled. "Oh Naruto," she whispered as she came to his bedside and knelt down on the floor and wrapped her arms around his neck. "You did your best, I know you did." "I'm so sorry, Sakura," Naruto choked out. "I'm so sorry." He cried into her shoulder, as she gently stroked his back and whispered that it was going to be okay. Tears sprinkled at the edge of her eyes, but she forced them back. She'd cried over Sasuke's body for 3 hours, now she needed to be strong for Naruto. The 3 days Naruto had been out had given her a lot of time to think. She hadn't been in love with Sasuke, she'd been in love with the idea of loving Sasuke. But when you boiled it all down, it was just a childhood crush. Sasuke was her friend first, and now he was gone. But she'd watched at a distance as Sasuke and Naruto got closer and closer each day, despite how much they'd resisted. The teamwork they'd shown in their efforts to free Kakashi from Zabuza's water prison jutsu was a beacon of that friendship. And now, just as they both were finding their first true friend, Sasuke had been killed, and it broke Naruto. Sakura refused to be weak right now, there would be time for that later. Right now Naruto needed what little strength she had to offer. Naruto struggled to get his sobs under control with staggered, ragged gasps. Sure, Sakura soothed, trying to help him calm down. "It's alright Naruto," she rocked him side to side as if he were a 3-year-old. Naruto finally got himself under control and went slack in Sakura's arms. She pulled back a little to look straight into his eyes. There was pain there, but also gratitude. She had been there for him, not yelled at him, when he needed her most. "Thank you, Sakura," he rasped. She gave him a soft smile and hugged him one more time before standing up and leaving the room. Kakashi, who'd watched Sakura grieve over Sasuke's body for 3 days, let a small smile grace his features. They had come together when they needed each other most. "Naruto, stay in bed today, and if you're strong enough tomorrow, we'll send word for an escort back." Naruto nodded his head, Kakashi squeezed his shoulder and left the room. Naruto laid back down and let sleep take him. End flashback. When Naruto came out of his thoughts, he found himself on top on the Hokage monument. He pondered to himself just how long he'd been up here. The sun was going down now, but there was no telling how long he'd wandered aimlessly through the village until coming here. Deciding he'd stay a while and try to settle down, Naruto sat on the fourth's head and drew his knees to his chest. Resting his chin on his knees, he gazed out across the village. It had changed since Sasuke's death. The villagers were downcast, disheartened. The greatest of their clan was now forever gone, and with them, the Sharingan. He and Kakashi were the only one who still had it. "I thought I might find you up here," came a familiar feminine voice. Naruto turned to see Sakura walking towards him. She wasn't dressed in her usual pink dress, instead she wore a white blouse with black pants and her sandals. Her long pink hair was drawn up in a high ponytail, and she wore a kind smile on her face, one Naruto had been seeing more and more of every day. "Hey Sakura," he said, turning back to face the village. Sakura's smile fell a bit. He'd been like this since they got back from the land of waves. She couldn't really blame him, but she kind of missed the old Naruto, the Naruto who yelled and made outrageous promises, the Naruto who wouldn't take being outdone by anyone, the Naruto whose face would light up when she walked into view. Now he just acknowledged her presence and went back to brooding. She slowly walked to his side and sat on her heels, wrapping her arms around her knees. "How long you been up here?" she asked him. He shrugged. "I dunno," he mumbled, not looking away from village. Sakura's smile fell a bit more. It fell to a full-blown frown when his stomach growled, and he didn't do a thing about it. Anyone who knew him would have expected him to jump up and declare he was going to Ichiraku's for some ramen. Now he just stared out into space, his stomach rumbling. "Alright," said Sakura, standing back up, "let's get something to eat." "My treat." Naruto shrugged again and let Sakura drag him to his feet. He followed her down the mountain, his hand tucked in his pockets. They slowly made their way to the ramen stand ran by old man Ichiraku and Ayam. She sat him down at his favorite stool before sitting down next to him. "Well, if it isn't Naruto and Sakura," said the old man. "Hey guys," said Ayam. "Hey," said Sakura, "one plain ramen and one miso ramen with pork." She'd been here enough with Naruto to know what he would want. Naruto had his arms crossed on the counter, and his chin resting on his arms. Sakura frowned at him before turning to Ayam, who was leaning across the counter. He's still down, huh? She whispered, looking at Naruto's sulking form. Yeah, he just can't forgive himself for Sasuke's death, Sakura whispered, and to make things worse 90% of the village blames him too. I was there too, but they don't blame me, so was Kakashi-sensei, and they don't blame him. They blame Naruto solely because of what he is, and it's not fair. Sakura could feel tears threatening, and was only able to fight them off because the food was ready and placed in front of them. Naruto simply picked up a pair of chopsticks and started to eat. Sakura watched him emotionless slurp down his noodles. Oh, Naruto, she thought before turning to her own ramen, and slowly started eating her own ramen. They ate in silence, and as soon as he was done, Naruto stood up and tossed a few bills on the table and left. Sakura picked them up and put them in her back pocket with the intention of returning it to him later. Then she quickly finished her own ramen and reached her wallet. Tucci shook his head. It's on the house, Sakura. He said you look after him, he needs you. Sakura smiled and nodded her head. Then she jumped down and ran after Naruto. When she caught up with him, she laced an arm through his, an act that would have caused the boy to get very uncomfortable. Now he didn't even look at her. Trying to find a good conversation topic, Sakura looked up at the sky. It was late, the moon was high in the sky and the stars were out. Hey, she said, I'll walk you home. The slightest nod of his head was her only answer. She tightened her grip on his arm and started leading him towards his apartment. Naruto didn't say anything for a long time. He was staring at the sky for a long time. She couldn't read his face, she used to be able to read him like a book. The new Naruto was so withdrawn, and she didn't like it. Sakura, I'm alright, he said. They were at his apartment, and she knew he was dismissing her. But she wasn't leaving him to brood, not this time. No, you're not, Naruto, she said without a moment's hesitation. You sulk all the time, you let other people's words affect you like you never have before. Naruto, you've given up on your Nindo, never give up and always keep your word, no matter what, you've lost sight of that. Naruto, that's okay. We all lose sight of things, but it's time you found it again. He stepped into his apartment in an attempt to escape her, but she stopped the door and perused him. She found him standing in his living room, shoulders shaking, he was crying. I couldn't save him, Sakura, it's my fault he's dead, he said. I should have done more, I just couldn't save him. He dropped to his knees, burying his face in his hands. Sakura raced to his side, taking him in her arms. It's not your fault, Naruto, she soothed. It's not. Haka killed him, not you. Oh, Naruto, Sasuke knew what being a ninja meant. He took that mission, he fought because he had a goal. Naruto, he wouldn't want you to beat yourself up over this. As hard and cold as Sasuke wasn't, he wouldn't want you to blame yourself. By this point, Naruto had his arms around Sakura, hugging her to him like she was his lifeline, the only thing anchoring him to the ground. Sakura pulled back and took his face in both her hands so she could look him right in the eye. Naruto, let him go, she said. Put Sasuke to rest, honor him by fulfilling your dream, become Hokage. Naruto's crying slowly reduced to sniffles, then subsided altogether. Here, let's get you to bed. She helped him up and led him to his bedroom. Once they got there, she sat him down on the bed and stood up. You get changed, I'm going to get you something to drink. She turned and left, headed for his small kitchen, and went through his cupboards looking for a glass. Once she found one, she filled it with water from the tap and carefully carried it back to his room. She found Naruto laying on his bed in his boxers. Averting her eyes, Sakura pulled the covers over his body and got him to sit up and helped him drink half the glass and set the rest down on his bedside table. Get some sleep, Naruto, she said. I'll see you in the morning. Naruto sagged back down under the covers and rolled onto his side. Good night, Sakura, he said, a hint of the old Naruto in his voice. Sakura could help but smile. Good night, Naruto, she replied before leaving his room. Out in his front room, Sakura located the clock. It read nearly midnight. She lived clear across the village. By the time she got back, it would be 1 o'clock, if not later. She stared at his couch for a minute before finally giving into her body's needs and collapsing into its welcoming embrace. Sleep took her quickly. Naruto woke the next morning with a raw throat and a sore face. He'd cried a lot last night, and knew that without Sakura's help things could have gone very wrong. He climbed out of bed and located his pants after pulling them on. Naruto downed the rest of the water Sakura had left of his bedside table last night, and left the room. He walked into the front room to find Sakura asleep on his couch. He smiled a small smile as he remembered her words from the night before. She'd saved him in ways she would never realize. He turned to look at the clock to find that it was 11 in the morning, time for her to get up. Cautiously he knelt down and shook her shoulder. Sakura, it's time to get up, he said softly, trying not to startle her. After a few more shakes, her beautiful green eyes fluttered open. She stared at him for a minute before flushing and averting her gaze. Confused, Naruto looked down and saw that he was naked from the waist up. He mumbled an apology before rushing back to his bedroom and pulling on his shirt. He walked back into his front room, rubbing the back of his head. Sakura was still on the couch, but now sitting up smiling fondly at him. Hey, thanks for last night, he said. She shook her head. There's no need to thank me, Naruto, she replied. You needed help and I was more than happy to give it. He nodded in thanks and turned towards the kitchen. You hungry? He asked. Yes, I am, she said, laughing. Well, let's see if we can't find you something for you to eat, he said as he opened his small fridge. After some rummaging around, he produced a tray of bacon. Care for some pancakes and bacon? He asked. Sakura giggled. You can cook? She asked. He shrugged. Kinda, he replied, pulling out the rest of the things he would need. I just assumed all you knew how to cook was instant ramen, she said, getting up off the couch and wrapping the heavy blanket she'd used the night before around her to shield her from the crisp winter morning chill. A ghost of a smile formed on Naruto's face before he shook his head. No, he replied, I dabble at regular cooking too, I'm still not very good though. He began to mix the batter as he turned on the stove to cook the bacon. Sakura moved up beside him and took the bowl of batter away from him. Here, let me help, she said, and began mixing as Naruto placed 4 strips of the bacon in the pan. They worked in comfortable silence for a while before Sakura finally broke it with an unexpected question. Naruto, why do you keep the Sharingan covered? She asked, not looking up from the pan she was making pancakes in next to him. He took out the last strip of bacon and set it on the plate before turning off the burner and leaning against the counter with his arms crossed. To protect myself, was the answer. What do you mean? She asked, looking at him this time. What would people say if they saw I had Sasuke's Sharingan? What would they do? She didn't need him to elaborate to know exactly what he meant. If people knew Naruto had the Sharingan, they would assume he'd taken it from Sasuke, not received it as a gift. They would call for punishment. It was better this way. Leaving the topic alone for now, Sakura finished the pancakes and took the platter to the table. Naruto joined her with the bacon and they ate in companionable silence. After finishing their meal, Naruto cleared the table and set them in the sink. I should probably get you home, he said. Sakura stopped dead. Home? She hadn't even considered how her parents would be reacting to waking up and finding out she never came back. And even worse, she'd stayed with Naruto, whom her father was less than fond of. She paled. Yeah, good idea, she said, quickly going to put on her sandals. Naruto followed, stepping into his own sandals. They left his house and started to navigate through the busy street of the Leaf Village. It was a busy time of year, the winter festival was coming. Street vendors were showing up more and more every day to get ready for the start that weekend. Without really thinking about it, Sakura wrapped her arms around Naruto's right arm to keep from getting separated. Naruto eyed her for a minute before let the ghost smile return to his face. Sakura gave him a small smile in return but couldn't find it in her heart to smile a full smile. It was disheartening to see that Naruto could no longer smile. He used to be so full of life, now he was broken, but Sakura could see that he was healing. The ways he'd acted this morning showed that. He was more his old self, and it pleased Sakura. She knew he'd never be the exact same ever again. That was asking too much, but maybe with help he could be more outgoing again. They got to Sakura's house after about an hour of dodging through traffic. Sakura braced herself as she opened the door. This was going to be bad. Her fears were instantly confirmed when she saw her father standing in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, anger in his eyes. There you are, he seethed. Hi, Daddy, she squeaked. What in the world do you are doing staying out all night? He asked. It was then that he realized for the first time just who she was with. You! He yelled, advancing on Naruto. Acting instinctively, Naruto pulled Sakura behind him. In doing so, he lost his opportunity to defend himself. The blow caught him square on the jaw. He stumbled backwards down the steps of Sakura's house, nearly knocking Sakura over in the process. He regained his balance and stood in front of Sakura, looking at her father. Though their eyes met, there was no challenge in Naruto's eye. No defiance. Nothing, just an empty pool of cold ice. It was unsettling, really. He could have dealt with defiance, or rage, or sorrow, but this empty look that he was getting from the boy made his blood run cold. He'd seen it before, in men who had nothing left to live for. This boy had seen something that broke him. Sakura, get inside, said Mr. Hirano. Sakura's face light up with panic. She couldn't just abandon Naruto, but she could disobey her father either. So with a squeeze on his bicep, Sakura stepped around Naruto and up the stairs to her father. Goodbye, Sakura, came Naruto's even voice, void of all emotion. Sakura's face fell. She'd worked for almost 2 days to get Naruto to open up, only to have her father ruin that in less than a minute. Goodbye, Naruto, she replied and stepped in the house. Mr. Hirano glared at Naruto a bit longer before going inside the house. Naruto was left standing at the bottom of the stairs alone, After staring at the door for a minute, he turned, stuck his hands in his pockets, and left headed for Sasuke's grave. Sakura rounded on her father the moment he closed the door. "Why'd you do that?" she demanded, furious with him. "He had you out all night, Sakura," yelled her father. "You may be a ninja, but you are still my daughter, and I will not have you out all night with trash like him." He pointed towards the door. "Trash? Trash?" screamed Sakura. "Naruto is a lot of things, Daddy, but he is not trash. He is the most caring, self-sacrificing, dependable person I know. He needed me last night and I was more than happy to be there. I know you saw the look in his eyes. He's dead inside. He watched his best friend killed in cold blood right in front of him. I spent all night and this morning trying to get him to open up, and just when I started making a little bit of progress, you ruined it." Tears were now flowing freely down her face. Her father was rooted to the spot, completely speechless. Once he didn't respond, Sakura turned and fled up the stairs and into her room, where she collapsed on her bed and cried. Downstairs, Takashi Haruno stared after his daughter, feeling like the scum of the earth. Movement caught his attention, and he turned to see his wife Aki giving him a look of complete disappointment. "How much did you hear?" he asked. "I heard the whole thing, Takashi. She said you've completely destroyed our daughter. That boy is all she has right now, and I could tell just from the small glimpse of him I caught out the window. He isn't doing well." The disappointment dripped off her words. "He needs her." Takashi looked at the floor, hating himself. "Hey Sasuke," Naruto said as he sat down. "I can't stay long, I just wanted to say hey." "Back again, Naruto?" came a male's voice. Naruto turned to see Kakashi standing behind him. "Oh hey Kakashi-sensei," said Naruto, turning back to Sasuke. "Naruto, stand up," Kakashi's voice told him he better do it. So Naruto dragged himself to his feet, ready to get yelled at again. His jaw still ached where Sakura's father had hit him. "What is it, Kakashi-sensei?" he asked, not really caring. Kakashi's answer caught him off guard. "Naruto, it's time I taught you to use Sharingan." "Damn it," he thought to himself as he raced through the trees. "I am so late, they're gonna kill me." He sped up, trying to reach his destination on time. That was until he missed a step and went crashing down to the forest floor. Nursing a sore shoulder, he dragged himself to his feet and started to dejectedly walk, no longer caring he was going to be late anyway. He finally reached where he was going, a small clearing with a black stone on the eastern edge. He took in his surroundings. There were two people in the clearing, a girl who looked close to his age, with a great figure and the most amazing pink hair he'd ever seen. She wore a hot pink t-shirt and a black silk pants. On her feet were shinobi sandals, and her headband was tied onto the top of her head to hold her hair back. The second person was a boy, about his age, maybe a year older. He had long, shaggy and spiky blonde hair. He wore a blood-red t-shirt and black pant. Flat-thigh style sandals were on his feet. On his head was a blue headband, and the right side of his face was covered in heavy bandages. The girl turned to him, her face angry. "Late again, Kaka," she cut herself off. "Hey, you're not Kakashi-sensei. Who are you?" "Is this Team 7? he asked, a bit shy. "Yes," the girl replied. "Why do you ask?" He hesitated, however, before he could give his reason, a voice behind him cut him off. "So, you must be Haru." Haru turned to see a tall man with silver hair and his headband over one eye standing behind him with his hand tucked into his pockets. "Haru?" the girl asked. "Yes, Sakura, Naruto, this is Harumuri," said the silver-haired man. The blonde looked at him with suspicion. "He's the newest member of Team 7. The blonde's face contorted, but he stayed silent. The pinkette, however, did not. "But Kakashi-sensei, I'm not sure if that's..." She cut herself off again, glanced nervously, and the blonde. Haru glanced at him again and saw the boy had his face down, his blonde hair masking his eyes. Haru didn't have to be a mind reader to see that the boy was against this idea. He just hoped he would blame him. It wasn't his choice. He'd been placed on this team because on his last team he was fighting more and more with a teammate, and it had already jeopardized several of their missions. So to end the bickering, the squad had been broken up and Haru had been assigned to this team. He knew some of the history behind the infamous Team 7. Sasuke Uchiha had once been a member of this team, but he died in the Land of Waves on a mission that had escalated far beyond the abilities of any genin. He had been fighting the enemy on his own while the Uzumaki boys stood by and watched. It was because of the blonde-haired boy that the last of the Uchiha was dead. Balling his fist, Haru glared at the boy, but try as he might, he couldn't get the young man to raise his gaze. "Alright," said Kakashi, "let's get on with today's training. It'll be relatively short. Combat training, you'll fight each other for 3 hours, do not hold back. If you do, you will get injured because your opponent won't." Haru stared at the man. They were expected to fight each other. He glanced at his new teammates. Neither of them seemed fazed in the least. However, since Haru is new, I'm adding a second rule. For 1 hour, 2 of you will pair up and attack the other. This will also help work on cooperative fighting and teamwork. First will be Haru and Sakura against Naruto. Naruto. The blonde finally looked up. Don't use it. That's the only restriction. You're not ready. All other jutsu is allowed though. Naruto nodded. Got it, Kakashi-sensei, he said. Haru noticed Sakura almost seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Okay then, on the whistle, said Kakashi. Sakura walked over to stand next to Haru, and then Naruto stood across from them. What are his weaknesses? Asked Haru. Sakura stared at Naruto for a second before turning to reply. Genjutsu, she said. Well, there went that plan. Haru didn't know any genjutsu. He would just have to figure something out. A shrill whistle sounded across the clearing. Naruto leapt straight for them, a kunai in hand. Haru noticed he was coming right for him. He froze. He was hardly any good at close combat. He closed his eye, waiting for the cold bite of steel. That was until a ringing met his ears. He opened his eyes and saw Sakura standing in front of him, blocking Naruto's kunai with her own. To looked over his shoulder at him. Don't just stand there, help me, she said. Haru nodded and drew his own kunai. Naruto leapt away from them and threw his knife, which Sakura deflected easily. Naruto laid it about 15 feet away and stated, flashing through hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He yelled and brought his hand to his mouth. He placed 2 fingers on the corner of his lips and exhaled. A massive ball of flame launched at them. Sakura and Haru leapt out of the way in opposite directions. Then Naruto crossed his fingers. Shadow clone jutsu. 19 clones phased into existence. Then they charged. Kakashi sat in a nearby tree watching the 3 genin fight. He could help but smile. In the 2 months Naruto had been training to use Sharingan, he had come a rather long ways. Even though he was more withdrawn and quieter since Sasuke's death, there were some things about Naruto that Kakashi believed would never change. Like his unbelievable work ethic. Kakashi had had to physically force Naruto to stop training 3 times, or risk total chakra depletion. It was true that Naruto had a substantial amount more chakra than Kakashi, but the hours Naruto put into his training would put a normal person in a near coma state. About a month into the training, Kakashi stumbled across another change in Naruto. When Sasuke had given Naruto Sharingan, he'd also inadvertently transferred his own prowess with fire jutsu to Naruto. Naruto could now use fire jutsu so powerful it rivaled Sasuke's, hell, it even Kakashi's. Kakashi watched as Naruto attacked with his shadow clones. Like he said, some things never change. Like Naruto's ability to create a ridiculous amount of shadow clones. The 3 had battled for 45 minutes now, and so far, Sakura and Haru had been able to fight Naruto to a standstill. Though Naruto had improved in leaps and bounds, Sakura had improved quite a bit too. She said that her total inability to do anything against Zabuza and Haku had opened her eyes, and she had committed herself to training, even joining Naruto and Kakashi at times when they were training with Sharingan. The buzzer went off. Alright, switch, yelled Kakashi. Naruto and Haru versus Sakura. The transition was flawless. Naruto and Sakura just leapt into the air and switched places. They resumed battling. Sakura struggled a bit more than Naruto did. But that was to be expected. Naruto was the strongest genin on their team. Haru, on the other hand, well. Flashback. You wanted to see me, Lord Hokage? Asked Kakashi, stepping through the door to the Hokage's office. Ah yes, Kakashi, said the Hokage, I have news for you. What is it? Asked Kakashi, curious. I've found a replacement for Sasuke on your team, he replied. Kakashi had been afraid of this. Lord Hokage, I don't started Kakashi, but the village leader cut him off. You don't think Naruto is ready, he said. Kakashi, we need Team 7 up to full strength again. We need you to start taking missions again. Here, this is a dossier on your new student. Kakashi took the papers from the Hokage and began to flip through them. You can see why I put him on your team. Yes, this boy, said Kakashi, is terrible. Only 5 successfully completed missions, all D rank. He has almost no fighting skill. His scores were worse than Naruto's. Exactly, said the Hokage, he's quite behind, and since you have 2 of the most advanced genin of their generation, I was hoping they could rub off on him. Kakashi saw his reasoning but still wasn't sure it was a good idea. Lord Hokage, Naruto won't like this. He doesn't want to replace Sasuke, said Kakashi. I'm afraid he would just push Haru away. But the Hokage was having none of it. Kakashi, I've made my decision, he said. Kakashi bowed. Yes, Lord Hokage, he replied and turned. We'll have a training exercise tomorrow. Please have him meet us at Training Field 7. The Hokage nodded. End flashback. Kakashi had been right. Naruto wasn't working with Haru at all. He was fighting Sakura on his own. Haru was being left behind. Naruto threw 3 more kunai at Sakura as he flipped over a branch and launched himself at Sakura. Haru stood on the ground watching, not believing what he was seeing. Naruto was good, really good. Naruto dropped to the ground in a crouch, his left knee bent, his right leg straightened out to the side. He looked over his shoulder. You plan on helping any time soon? He asked Haru. Haru hesitated. Naruto scoffed and raced at Sakura. Why'd I even ask? He leapt at Sakura, aiming a kick at her head. She ducked it. He landed behind her. She turned and swung at his head. Naruto leapt backwards, landing on his shoulders, and kicked right back to his feet. He threw a roundhouse at her head, which she spun under, drawing a kunai. Naruto drew his own kunai and parried the incoming attack. They stood locked like that for a couple seconds before a buzzer sounded. Alright, last switch, said Kakashi from his tree. Sakura and Naruto versus Haru. Naruto heard Haru gasp. Sakura and Naruto stood side by side before looking at each other and nodding. Naruto threw 3 shuriken. Haru gasped again and leapt to his left. Naruto and Sakura sprinted at him, Naruto leading. Naruto dropped to one knee and delivered a hard straight right to Haru's stomach. Haru doubled over and stumbled backwards several feet. Sakura jumped onto Naruto's shoulder and leapt into the air. She caught Haru in the side of the face with a hard kick. Haru flew another several feet to his right and landed hard on his back. Naruto jumped into the air, spun a couple times, and fell straight at Haru, his right leg bent. Haru rolled to his right and avoided the deadly knee, which landed only a couple inches from his face. He leapt to his feet. Sakura ran at Naruto, who was still in his crouch. Placing a hand on each of his shoulders, she cartwheeled over him and caught Haru with each of her feet. Naruto jumped to his feet and rolled across Sakura's back. He brought a right punch down on the top of Haru's head, snapping the young boy's head down, then delivered a left uppercut directly into his face. Haru hit his back hard, his breath rushing from his lungs. He laid on his back looking up at Naruto and Sakura, who were standing over him, neither breathing really hard. That's enough, came Kakashi's voice. We're done for the day, meet at the bridge tomorrow, we have a mission. Naruto didn't say anything as he turned and started to leave. Sakura gave Haru a glance before turning and leaving as well. It didn't go unnoticed by either Kakashi or Haru that neither offered to help him up. Kakashi sighed. Naruto left the training field with his hands in his pockets. He didn't even seem to notice Sakura walking with to him, both her arms wrapped around his upper right arm. He just stared at the ground, putting one foot in front of the other. Sakura frowned. Since that day 2 months ago, Naruto had fallen even deeper into himself. The only time he seemed to open up was when he was training. Whether it was with her or Kakashi, it seemed to help, but the second it ended, he would shut them out again. She knew where he was going without him even telling her. Hey Naruto, she said, once you get done visiting him, come find me? I'll be in the town market, okay? He nodded and continued on his way. Sakura gave him a squeeze on the arm and left him. Naruto kept walking, letting his feet guide him. His mind traveled to the boy they trained with. What right did he have to replace Sasuke? He was terrible. Sasuke was 100 times better. He and Sakura hadn't even been going all that hard, but almost everything they threw at him found its mark. Did Kakashi really think they could go on a mission with him? He reminded him of himself, his old pathetic self who hadn't been able to protect Sasuke. It made him so angry. He looked around and realized he was standing at Sasuke's headstone. Hey man, he said, squatting down and brushing off the few leaves that covered it. Sorry I'm late, I had to train with Kakashi-sensei and Sakura. You always talk to yourself? Asked a voice behind him. He turned. What are you doing here? Naruto asked the visitor. It was none other than Shikamaru Nara. Shikamaru shrugged. Came to pay my respects, responded Shikamaru. My team's be gone for a while, and I thought I'd come say hey. He walked up and stood next to Naruto, who had stood up by this point. How long you been here? Naruto shrugged. Not long, he said, but I can't stay long either, I have to meet Sakura. Shikamaru nodded. Well, it was great seeing you again, Naruto, Shikamaru said. Naruto nodded and turned to leave. He tucked his hands in his pockets and hunched his shoulders. After walking for a good 10 minutes, he's the village market. Was a wide area in the middle of town full of stall vendors and street shops. Naruto scanned the area for Sakura's distinct pink hair. He found her standing at one of the stalls, next to a girl with blonde hair. Ino. Naruto turned to walk away, but Sakura must have turned around because she called out to him. Naruto, there you are, she called. He turned to see her racing towards him. Ino held back her mouth a firm line. Naruto knew what was going on. In the past 4 months he'd been back. Ino had tried extremely hard not to listen to the rumors that said Naruto had let Sasuke die. She tried so hard not to blame him. She slowly walked over to Sakura and Naruto. Hey Sakura, I'll see you later, okay? She said, and without looking at him she added, nice seeing you, Naruto. And like that she was gone. Sakura let out a small sigh as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's. She did it quite often now, either really knew why but it was comfortable. Sakura figured she did it to protect Naruto, give him something else to focus on than the harsh words and cruel whispers that always surrounded him every time he went out. They walked through the market for a while, Sakura stopping occasionally to look at something at a stall or admire an item at a street shop. Naruto never said anything, he just walked with her, stood by her and watched over her. A silent escort. As the night wound down, Naruto decided it was probably time he got her home. She agreed and together they walked to her house. It was a good 30-minute walk. As they walked, Sakura couldn't help but look up at Naruto's calm, stoic face. He was actually quite handsome, and Sakura knew that if she hadn't been so obsessed over Sasuke when he was alive, she probably would have been quite attracted to Naruto while they were in the academy. Though part of her was glad she wasn't back then, because she knew if she had had a silly schoolgirl with a crush like she had been with Sasuke, she wouldn't have been able to put her ridiculous behavior aside and help him like she was now. Smiling to herself, she looked back down at the ground, slightly tightening her grip. Naruto glanced at her from the corner of his eye before turning his gaze back forwards. In time they reached her house. Naruto walked her up the stairs and stood at the doorway as she reached for the doorknob. But just before she could grab it, the door opened and none other than Takashi Haruno stood there waiting. Naruto went a couple of steps down, not want to get into a confrontation with since his last one, he'd been able to avoid the man, but now they were standing face to face. Naruto, he said. All Naruto could do was just blink. The man had never used his name, no one really did. Takashi looked at the sky. It's kinda cold tonight, care for a cup of tea before you head home? Naruto and Sakura both looked at Mr. Haruno like he'd gone crazy. Come on in, the man said and disappeared inside the house. Naruto and Sakura shared a confused look but went inside anyway. They found Takashi and Aki in the kitchen talking in low whispers, however as soon as they say them enter, the husband and wife fell silent. Takashi turned to the stove where he was heating up water, while Aki turned to Naruto. Why don't you come sit down, Naruto? She asked with a kind smile in her face. Naruto let her lead him to the couch in the living room while Sakura stayed in the kitchen with her dad. Okay, Daddy, she said. What's going on? Takashi looked confused. What do you mean, Sakura? He asked in return. The last time you saw Naruto you punched him in the face, she said, her hands on her hips. Now you're inviting him in for tea? Sakura, her dad said, not looking up. You don't know this, but I've been watching him for a while. I hurt him and I feel terrible for it. I'm trying to make amends for what I did. Sakura was silent for a long time. You promise, Daddy? She asked because Naruto doesn't need people messing with him right now, he's bad enough as it is. I promise, Sakura, he replied, a bit taken aback at how protective his daughter was of the boy. Sakura seemed to accept that, and moved to help him finish with the tea. Once they had 4 steaming cups of tea, they left the kitchen and went into the living room where Sakura found a very uncomfortable Naruto sitting on the couch playing with the hem of his t-shirt, a nervous habit of his. She handed him his tea and sat down close next to him, their hips almost touching. So Naruto, I meant to ask you, why do you wear those bandages? Asked Takashi, genuinely curious. All the Harunos saw the boy stiffen. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Naruto shook his head. It's alright, he said, but didn't provide an answer. The 4 drank their tea in relative silence. Naruto would shift every now and then, trying his best not to be rude, but he couldn't help but feel like he was being examined by Sakura's father. He would take nervous glances at Sakura, but she would just smile at him. After they finished their tea, Naruto stood up to take his leave. Quietly thanking them for the tea, he made his way for the door, stepping into his sandals. Sakura walked with him, and as he opened the door she put a hand on his shoulder to get his attention. He turned to look at her. She was smiling, a small smile, but a genuine smile. Then she stood on her toes and gave him a small kiss on the cheek. A small smile ghosted his own mouth, and her turned and left the house. Naruto leaned against the railing of the bridge, his arms and ankles crossed. Sakura was next to him, sitting on the railing looking at the water. Their newest member Haru was across from them, cross-legged on the bridge. Is Kakashi-sensei always this late? He asked. Yeah, pretty much, said Sakura, not looking from the water. Naruto nodded in agreement, not looking at him. Haru let out a sigh, looking back down at his lap. He'd been trying all morning to connect with his team. The beating he took the day before showed just how far behind he really was. They had worked completely together, all without saying a single word to one another. He sighed again. Naruto was watching Haru from under his bangs. He watched as he took out a kunai and a whetstone and started to sharpen it. He snatched his hand back and stuck his thumb in his mouth. He'd cut himself. The boy was terrible. When he had first arrived today, Naruto had had every intention of telling him he wasn't wanted and to go away. But something had held him back. He had been the same way once. Flashback. But there are 3 of us, that's what you said, yelled Naruto from where he was tied to a post. We're all on this squad and we're all in it together, said Sasuke, his look of defiance ever present. End flashback. A small smile played on his lips. Dead for half a year, thought Naruto, and still showing me up. Naruto had been tied to a post, and his team had been told not to feed him. Yet Sasuke knew they would need to work as a team, and if Naruto was hungry it would hurt the team. The same was true here. Haru was weak and behind, that hurt the team. He had to do something. He straightened and walked over to the boy and knelt down in front of him. Haru looked at him curiously. Naruto picked up his abandoned kunai and whetstone. Here, he said, when you're sharpening a kunai, hold the whetstone like this. He showed him the proper grip, that way you don't have to worry about cutting yourself. Haru stared at him. Don't look at me, try it. Haru took the kunai and whetstone from Naruto and gripped it that he had showed him and started to sharpen the blade. He smiled as he continued. Sakura couldn't help but smile as she watched over her shoulder. Naruto was opening up. It was so nice to see him open up to someone besides her. Last night she'd laid on her bed for hours thinking about the small kiss she had given him. It had taken a lot of courage on her part, but that small gesture of the caring she had for him had seemed to help him a little bit. This morning when they had met at the bridge, he had given her a small smile. She was brought out of her musing by Kakashi walking on the bridge. Hey, he said. Sakura let out a sigh. You're late again, Kakashi-sensei, she said. Sorry about a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way, he said. Sakura shook her head. Did he even realize he used the same 4 excuses over and over? I'm sure you did, she said, not feeling like arguing and ruining her good mood. Well, let's get going, said Kakashi, turning towards the Hokage tower. Haru put his kunai and whetstone away and made to get up, yet he saw a hand palm up being held out to him. He followed the arm and saw Naruto looking down at him. With a small grin, Haru took his hand and let him pull him to his feet. Sakura had to smile again. Naruto was getting there, wasn't there yet. But it's a long road to a healed heart, and Sakura would be there for him, every step of the way. Naruto let out a long sigh as he sat on one of the 3 pillars in Training Field 7. They'd been here for 3 hours waiting for Kakashi. This was getting a little ridiculous. Naruto had even gone to Sasuke's grave early so he would be on time. It was supposed to be really important, and Kakashi was late again. Naruto put his elbows on his knees and his chin on top of his interlaced fingers. His gaze fell Haru where he laid on the ground a few paces away. He had his fingers interlaced behind his head and his legs crossed at the ankles. They'd come a long way in the month they'd been together. Naruto and Sakura had been trying to integrate Haru into the team. Flashback. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 walked next to the large caravan they had been charged to protect. Naruto and Haru on one side, Sakura and Kakashi on the other. They were in charge of escorting it to the capital from the land of tea. The caravans had been being attacked by bandits lately, and they were in need of escorts. Naruto walked with his hand in his pockets, staring at the ground. He'd come a long way since watching Sasuke die. He was able to interact with his team, he even smiled from time to time now. But he still visited Sasuke every day. He didn't think a day would go by for the rest of life that he wouldn't. He just couldn't let his teammate go. Sasuke had always been there. Even in their academy days, Naruto was always striving to surpass Sasuke. Then when they were put on the same team, Naruto was both angry and relieved. Angry because it would give Sasuke even more chances to show him up, but he was relieved as well because he had a strongest person in their age to measure himself against. Now he had no one. He'd been using Kakashi, but it was hard to see your own growth when going up against a Jounin as a genin. The gap was just too large. Naruto was brought out of his brooding when he caught a glimmer to his left. In an instant a kunai was in his hand. He deflected the knives that were thrown at him. Sounds of metal striking metal on the other side of the caravan told him that Kakashi had ran into a similar problem. Naruto watched as 3 bandits stepped out of the shadows of the trees, katana in hand. Naruto glanced at Haru and saw he also had a kunai in his hand. His hand was trembling. Haru, he said, causing the boy to look at him, we can do this together. Just stay with me and watch each other's back, got it? Haru gave him a quick nod and looked back at the enemy. Naruto switched his one-eyed gaze back at their attackers. In a flash he threw the kunai at the men. It found a home in one of their shoulders. Then Naruto ran at him in a low stance, Haru hot on his heels. Naruto hit a baseball slide and slid through the man's legs before leaping to his feet and racing at the man behind him. He heard a gurgle and knew Haru had done his job. Naruto pulled the 2 kunai of his hips and ran straight at the second man. He blocked the katana strike with the kunai in his right hand, and turning his back on the man he plunged the kunai in his left hand into the man's left side. The man's eyes bulged as Naruto turned to face him, yanking the kunai out, and dragging the kunai that hand blocked the katana across both the man's jugular veins. He fell to the ground, bubbles of blood bursting from the slash in his throat as he struggled for breath. It would end soon. If he didn't bleed out from the wound across his neck, he would die drowning on his own blood as it slowly filled his punctured lung. Naruto turned to look at the last man and saw Haru had already engaged him. He was holding his own, but Haru's strength was not close combat. Naruto ran at them throwing a kunai, which the man only avoided because he leapt out of the way of Haru's attack, otherwise it would have sank into the side of his head. Naruto continued to run at the man as he turned his back on his. It was clear he was completely unaware of Naruto's presence. Naruto closed the gap swiftly and buried the blade into the man's back, severing his spine. Haru took advantage of the man's surprise and plunged his own kunai in their opponent's heart. Naruto pushed the man to the ground, pulling his blade free. He turned to Haru and gave him a small nod of approval and turned back to the caravan, only stopping to wipe his blade clean on one of the enemy's shirts. End flashback. That had been one of their first missions together, and their team's teamwork had been getting better and better with every mission. After their last mission yesterday, which had been a simple delivery run to a neighboring village that had taken a grand total of 6 hours, Kakashi told them to meet at Training Field 7. And now he was late. Naruto let out another sigh, causing Sakura to look up at him from where she was sitting right below him reading a scroll on Genjusta that she had gotten from Kurenai. "What's wrong, Naruto?" she asked, a curious look on her face. "You've been sighing an awful lot." "It's Kakashi-sensei," said Naruto. "I just wish he could be on time for once." Sakura nodded her head in agreement. "Why do you think he's late all the time anyway?" asked Haru from his spot in the middle of the field. "Who knows," said Naruto. "He's done it since we've known him, and he's not showing any signs of stopping. Guess we'll just have to deal with it." As if on cue, Kakashi casually walked into the field waving in greeting. "You're late," they all chorused, not loudly, Naruto merely mumbling. Kakashi let out a small laugh, nervously rubbing the back of his head. After regaining his composure, Kakashi addressed them as a team. "I've actually called you all to discuss an important matter. The Chunin exams are approaching and I've nominated the 3 of you." 3 Genin stared at him for a minute. "Wait, what kind of exam?" asked Haru, knowing if he had to fight, he would be hard-pressed to win. "I'm not allowed to disclose the details," said Kakashi. Then he took out 3 sheets of paper and handed them to his students. "These are the applications, file them out and meet at the academy tomorrow if you wish to participate." With that he left the 3 young ninja. Naruto stared at the paper for a minute before jumping to the ground. He was entering. It would be a good opportunity for him to test his skills. He walked out of the clearing, heading for the main square of the village, his teammate flanking him. As they walked, they stumbled across a male/female pair of ninja they didn't recognize. The male was in a black jumpsuit wearing a ridiculous cat-eared hood, makeup, and had something wrapped in bandages on his back. The female wore a simple dress with a large battle fan strapped to her back. The male had a child by the collar holding the boy off the ground. Naruto recognized the boy, Konohamaru. The look on the mystery ninja's face did spell good news for Konohamaru. Naruto decided it would be best to intervene. "Put him down," he said, not drawing his hands out of his pockets. "What?" said the ninja. "You got a problem too, punk?" "I do," said Naruto. "I have a problem with you harassing the people of my village." He glanced at the boy's forehead. "Sand ninja. You are clearly here to take part in the up-and-coming Chunin exams. It would be a shame if I had to have you expelled from the village for disturbing the peace." "Kankuro," said dark voice from somewhere to Naruto's right. "Put him down. You're embarrassing yourself and our village." A young man stood in the underside of a tree branch, his arms crossed and a large gourd on his back. The boy in black seemed to get scared suddenly and dropped Konohamaru. Sure, Gaara," he stuttered. The boy Gaara turned to Naruto. "I apologize for his behavior," he said in a monotone voice. Naruto shook his head. "It's all right, no harm was done." Having said that, Naruto, Sakura, Haru, and Konohamaru all left the sand ninja to themselves. As they walked, Naruto thought about the boy named Gaara. There was something about him, something strangely familiar. Deciding that he was reading too much into it, Naruto decided to just banish the thought. He had an exam to focus on and he couldn't afford distractions right now. Naruto stood outside the academy, his hands in his pockets. He had arrived 30 minutes early to ensure he wouldn't miss his chance. After waiting about 10 minutes, the rest of his team showed up. They handed the applications to the 2 Chunin sitting at a booth outside. "Head upstairs, 3rd floor, room 35, one of them said. Naruto nodded, and then with his team flanking him on either side, he entered the academy. He walked up the stairs and to the 3rd floor, where he found and entered room 35. The room was packed, and in the front stood the rest of the rookie 9. Naruto walked over and stood next to them, his hands still deep in his pockets. "Hey Naruto," said Choji as he approached. Naruto inclined his head in greeting and stared out amongst the rest of the ninja. There were genin from all over the land, grass, sand, rain. There were even 3 ninja with music notes on their headbands. Naruto locked eyes with one of them, a man who had most of his face covered in bandages. They stared at each other for a minute. Sakura glanced nervously at Naruto and then looked at Haru, who was watching Naruto. Then surprisingly, the man with the music note on his forehead broke the eye contact. A ghost of a smile crossed Naruto's face as he glanced at the rest of the rookies. Some of them were looking at him with stunned looks. Naruto gave them questioning looks before turning to look at the examiner that just entered the room. "All right, you scum," said Ibiki. "Everyone take a number from the box the examiner is passing around, then take your assigned seating." Naruto drew number 19D. He walked up to row 19 and sat in the 4th seat. To his left was a grass ninja and to his right was Hinata. They passed out the tests. "You have 1 hour," said the examiner. "No cheating. If you are caught 3 times, your entire team will fail. Begin." Naruto flipped over his paper and saw a 9-question test. The 10th question will be given with 10 minutes left. Naruto stared at it for a minute. "Great, all the skills I've picked up and I still suck at taking tests," he thought. He sat in his chair trying to think of a way to figure this out. There was no way he could answer any of the questions, they were just way over his head. He was gonna have to cheat, but how? Flashback. Kakashi and Zabuza stood on the water, eyeing each other. Both men stared, flashing through hand signs, Kakashi copying Zabuza flawlessly. They both used the water-style jutsu, throwing Naruto around. Then Zabuza stared, making random movements. Kakashi moved flawlessly with him, mimicking every movement the demon of the mist made. End flashback. 10 months ago, Naruto would have slapped himself in the forehead. Now he was more reserved. He started subtly scanning the room for potential candidates. Through a sheer stroke of luck, the man right in front of him was writing like a man possessed. Pretending to scratch the right side of his face, Naruto slightly pulled down the bandage over his right eye. He had been training for the last 6 months with Kakashi and using Sharingan. It was time to put that training to at least some use. For the first time since the death of Sasuke, the right eye of Naruto Uzumaki opened. Sakura scanned the test and glanced at Naruto, who was staring blankly at his test. This was bad, though his battle prowess and jutsu skills had increased by leaps and bounds since Sasuke's death. But his intellectual and deductive reasoning skills hadn't improved at all. She wasn't going to have a problem and Haru should be okay. Though he wasn't a very good fighter, Haru was actually quite smart. Sakura watched Naruto be still for a long time before finally moving. He scratched the bandaged side of his face, then stared writing. Her fears laid to rest for the time being. Sakura turned to her own test. "I hit a gold mine with this guy," thought Naruto as he copied the answer for the 5th question. In a matter of 20 minutes, Naruto had the entire test filled out and finished. They had 5 minutes until the 10th question was released. Naruto pulled the bandage back over the Sharingan to conserve his chakra and sat back in his seat with his arms crossed. People around him were starting to finish. As he glanced around, he realized that there was a significant fewer number of people. He'd been so focused on copying the man's movements he hadn't noticed people being removed. "All right, listen up," said the proctor. "It's time for the 10th question." Naruto looked up at the proctor, trying to read him. He hadn't been able to for the entire exam. It was starting to wear on his nerves. But before we reveal the 10th question, there are a few rules. Rule number 1, each of you will have the choice whether or not to take the final question. There was a collective gasp from the students. However, should you choose not to take it, you will get a 0 on the test and automatically fail, and in extension, your entire team will. Rule 2, if you do decide to take the final question and do not answer correctly, you will be barred from taking the Chunin exams ever again. Gasp wasn't the correct word this time. It was more like a scream of terror. Naruto watched as student after student raised their hands, backing out. Naruto glanced at Haru, who was shaking, nervous as hell. Naruto closed his eye. "Go ahead, Haru," he thought. "Raise your hand." Haru's hand twitched, but he kept his arm down. "All right then, here we go." The proctor glanced over the class one more time. "All right then, if that's everyone, I only have one thing left to say." He paused as he glanced around. Naruto's right hand twitched, ready to pull the bandage from his eye. "Congratulations on passing the first exam." Naruto almost fell out of his chair. The guy next to him actually did. "Hold on," yelled Sakura, jumping to her feet. "What do you mean? Where's the 10th question?" "There is no 10th question, not a written one at least," he smiled. "In fact, your answer to stay was the correct answer." Naruto crossed his arms and slumped in his seat. "Unbelievable," he said, smirking and shaking his head. "Then what was the point of the other 9 questions?" demanded a blonde-haired girl wearing a sand headband around her neck. "Were they completely pointless?" "Not all," said Ibiki. "In truth, they served a very important task. They were to test your ability to gather intel under the most dire of circumstances." Naruto could only shake his head. As I'm sure you realize, the questions were far too advanced for any genin to answer. The test was designed to encourage cheating. In fact, it practically demanded it. However, you had to have someone to copy off of. So I had two Chunin who already knew the answers sit in with you. Naruto watched as the boy he'd been copying raised his hand. Okay, but what was the point of the 10th question? Asked the blonde girl. The 10th question was the whole point of the exam. You had two choices, either one very pleasant. You could either choose not to take it, and whole team would fail, or you could take it or run the risk of losing your chance to ever be Chunin. It was a no-win situation. But with your choices to take it, you have shown your ability to put the mission before yourself. The first exam is over. See through deception, said Naruto, shaking his head. Then the widow to his left shattered. A sort of ball flew in through the window. Two kunai with ropes tied to them embedded themselves in the ceiling. A woman with purple hair and a tan coat stood in front of the newly erected curtain. All right, boys and girls, you ready for the second test? She yelled. Good. Then follow me. No one moved. Okay? Stuttered Naruto with a raised eyebrow. You're early, came Ibiki's voice from behind the curtain again. She faltered. Then Ibiki stepped around the curtain and the two shared word in whispers that Naruto didn't catch. Alright, meet me tomorrow at the 44th Battle Training Zone at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the woman said, dismissed. Naruto stood up from his seat and exited the room, his hands tucked in his pockets. He walked down to the ground floor and exited the building, headed for home. His teammates soon joined him. Hey Naruto, said Haru walking up on his right, how many questions did you answer? I could only get 5. Naruto smiled. I got them all, said Naruto. Sakura gave him a weird look before a look of understanding crossed her face. Gave her a faint smile before looking forward again and continuing on his journey home. I'll see you guys tomorrow, said Haru and leapt off. Would you like me to walk you home? Asked Naruto, looking back at Sakura. Sakura shook her head. Actually, I'd visit with you for a while, she said. My parents are out of the village on business and won't be returning for a week. Naruto nodded his head and turned toward his house. They reached his house in short time and soon found themselves sitting on his couch. Though he'd intended to stay up and talk with Sakura for a while, Naruto found himself growing very drowsy very quickly. In a matter of minute his head was cradled in Sakura's lap and he was fast asleep. The next morning Naruto woke on his couch, a petite form curled against him. He lifted himself up a bit and looked around. His clock read 6 o'clock. They had an hour and a half to get the 44th Battle Training Ground. He gently shook Sakura awake and watched as her beautiful green eyes fluttered open. Sakura, we gotta get up, he said. She stretched her whole body against him. He felt his face heat up slightly. After she got off the couch, Naruto sat up and put his face in his hands, rubbing it vigorously, trying to wake up. Then he stood up and followed her out of the house. They ran to the training ground and made it with a half-hour to spare. Haru was already there waiting for them. About time you two decide to show up, he said, giving them a smirk. Yeah, sorry about that, said Sakura, rubbing the back of her head. Kinda overslept. Haru gave them a knowing look before turning to face the forest. So this is where we're taking the next exam at? He said, looking up at the looming trees. Should be pretty interesting. Naruto followed his gaze into the trees. They looked ominous and he couldn't help but agree, it did look like it was going to be interesting. Movement to his right caught his attention and he turned to see Shikamaru and his team approaching them, followed by the other 3 rookies. Soon the rookie 9 were standing together in a small mob and at their head stood Naruto. They were outcasts here, having only been genin for a short time. Even most of the Leaf genin looked on them with partial disgust. The only ones who weren't were 3 in the far back. 2 boys and a girl. Team Guy, led by the child prodigy Niji Hyuga. Naruto turned to face his own team and the rest of the 9, forming a small circle. So looks like we're all still in it, said Kiba, glancing around. Yup, said Choji, smiling. What do you suppose the next task will be? Asked Hinata's shy voice. None of the others got a chance to answer because at that very moment the second exam proctor showed up. Alright, you maggots. She yelled, it's time for the second exam to begin. Each team will receive either a Heaven Scroll or an Earth Scroll. The objective is to enter the training ground and make your way to the tower located in the middle. However, before you can enter the tower you must first obtain both scrolls. You have 5 days. Naruto's eyebrow raised a bit. Before we can proceed, each team must enter the both, confirm you are allowed to partake in the exam and receive your scroll. Naruto turned to his team and indicated for them to follow. Then as a team they walked into the both. Names, said the Chunin sitting behind the table. Sakura Haruno, said Sakura. The Chunin scanned the list and found her name. He checked her off. Harumuri, said Haru. The Chunin checked his name off. Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto. The Chunin did a double take, eyeing Naruto up, then he checked his name off. Naruto picked up the heaven scroll that was set in front of him and drew his number out of the box. They drew gate 13. They exited the booth and walked away from the rest of the candidates. Once at their gate, the three started to discuss strategy. Naruto, said Sakura, who should lead the team? Naruto was quiet for a bit. You should, Sakura. You are the smartest one out of the group, said Naruto. Haru, no offense, but you've got a bit of a confidence problem, and me, well, I already let one teammate die. I won't let you die because of me. Sakura frowned. She and Haru both believed Naruto was the best for this, but it seemed that he didn't trust himself with the well-being of his teammates. Yes, she was smart, but she wasn't a leader. She didn't have the natural ability. It wasn't in her makeup. Naruto, however, was. He knew how to inspire people. It came as natural as breathing to him, but it seemed that he had yet to overcome his fear of being responsible for another teammate's death. So she reluctantly agreed to lead them. But she knew that if any fighting started, Naruto would take over. He wouldn't even realize it, but he would, and she'd follow his every order. Naruto nodded at her and turned around to face the gate. She stared at his back, his hand tucked in his pockets, but he still stood as straight up as ever. The pride he had in himself hadn't changed. For a second she remembered Sasuke and the way he carried himself. They had been more alike than they knew, but Sakura had always been looking at them from the outside, so it was easy for her to see. She was sure Kakashi saw it too. Alright, get ready, said the Chunin at the gate. Naruto stepped up to the gate. Sakura and Haru stepped up to flank him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the Chunin counted down, go. The gate swung open and the three raced in. Naruto took the lead and leapt into the trees, the others hot on his heels. They raced through the trees for an hour before coming to a stop in a small clearing. Alright, how are we gonna go about finding our Earth Scroll? Asked Haru. We can't split up, but we'll lose time if we just wander around aimlessly, said Sakura, so for now we continue to head for the tower. Naruto and Haru nodded and leapt off to follow their leader. However, they hadn't gone 300 yards when Naruto put on a burst of speed and tackled Sakura out of the sky. A kunai flew overhead and Haru caught a branch and flipped up on top of it, drawing his own kunai. Naruto landed with Sakura in his arms, holding her bridal style. Thanks, Naruto, she said as he put her down. He nodded and looked into the direction the kunai had come from. 3 ninja from the grass village stood in a tree 60 feet away, squaring off against Haru. Haru leapt into the air and threw his blade. The 3 scattered. Naruto and Sakura used the distraction to leap back into the fight. Naruto slipped of his pack and flipped it open. He pulled out a crescent-bladed-like object and threw it to Haru, who caught it and landed on a nearby branch, blocking a shuriken with the blade. Then he spun the blade once. 3 identical blades sprang forth. Haru was holding the weapon of Sasuke Uchiha, the Demon Wind Shuriken. The attacking ninja all threw multiple shuriken and kunai at Haru, who started spinning the shuriken. The incoming blades were deflected. Then Haru threw the spin blade at the 3 ninja. They all leapt out the way. Haru leapt in pursuit of one. Sakura stopped the ninja pursuing Haru with a head kick to the head. Naruto jumped after the 3rd. Haru landed in front of the ninja he pursued, another kunai in his hand. The grass ninja drew his sword and attacked Haru. Haru sidestepped the attack, plunged the kunai through his hand, pinning him to the tree. Then Haru stuck his hand out and caught the demon wind on its return path. Continuing its rotation, he passed the blades through his neck, severing his head from his shoulders. Sakura landed in a crouch and launched herself at the grass ninja. She punched him in the face and followed up with a knee to his stomach. Then she drew a kunai, and he drew his sword. She attacked him with a stab which he dodged and trapped her arm between his body and his arm. He tried to cut off her head, but she dropped down and grabbed his leg. She pulled it out from under him. He lost his balance and fell from the tree. Sakura dove after him, her blade held in a reverse grip. They both crashed to the ground. Her blade pierced his chest and heart. Naruto and his opponent faced each other, either moving, either breathing. The grass ninja twitched. Naruto started his hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He breathed the huge flame at the grass ninja, who dropped off the tree branch and fell to the ground. Naruto dropped down after him, drawing his 2 kunai off his hips, holding them in reverse grips. They landed on the ground and the grass ninja ran at Naruto. He delivered an overhead slash intent on cleaving Naruto in 2. Naruto blocked the blade with his kunai. Then he shoved the ninja away and took up the ground. He delivered stabs through each of the man's biceps, then plunged the blades into his thighs. The man screamed in pain. Naruto ripped one blade out and drove for the man's chin. The enemy ninja caught Naruto's wrist and tried to hold off his attack. Naruto put the palm of his other hand on the end of the kunai and pushed up. The two struggled against one another, but the man's wounded arms quickly gave out. Naruto drove the kunai through the man's bottom jaw and into the roof of his mouth, and then the blade pierced his brain. The man suffered the most unbearable pain known to possible, then he died. Naruto wrenched the blade free and kicked the corpse over. He turned to look at his other teammates. They were both fine. Haru had the demon wind in his hand and was in the process of wiping it clean. The other two enemies were dead. Haru collapsed the demon wind and tried to hand it back to Naruto. Naruto shook his head. "Keep it," he said. "You seem to have a natural talent for it. I can't think of a better person to carry Sasuke's shuriken." Haru and Sakura shared a look of amazement. Naruto was parting with something of Sasuke's. Not many people knew it, but Naruto had the headband he'd gotten from Irika in a drawer at home. Since his death, Naruto had been wearing Sasuke's headband, as a tribute to his dead friend. Now he was giving Haru the demon wind, the weapon Sasuke had used to fight the rogue ninja, Zabuza. "Come on," he said, "let's search them for the scroll." They searched the bodies for a couple minutes before Haru found it on the man he'd killed. "It's a heaven scroll," he said. He tossed it into the bushes. Naruto and Sakura converged on him. "It's getting late," said Sakura. "Let's find somewhere to campo for the night." The other two nodded and they began to search. After looking for half an hour, they found a deep cave that had a natural bend in it, which meant they could make a fire. Heartened a bit, they head inside and started to erect a camp. Sakura set up the tent, while Haru and Naruto collected firewood. In no time at all they had a small fire going, and were eating some rations that Haru had had. Naruto volunteered for the first watch, and while the others slept he sat at the mouth of the cave. His thoughts, as they always did, drifted to the time he'd spent with Sasuke. The tree climbing, their fight with Zabuza, the demon brothers, everything. It had been annoying to see Sasuke outclass him at every turn, but at the same time it had inspired him to try even harder. The bond of friendship and brotherhood that had been forming between them was like something he'd never felt before. But then his thoughts drifted to Haru. They were growing closer. He'd meant what he'd said about the demon wind. He'd wanted Haru to keep it. Haru would never replace Sasuke. Haru knew this, Naruto knew it, Sakura knew it. But Haru had earned his own spot on Team 7, they were now a 4-man squad. The spirit of Sasuke as the guardian angel, always looking over them and guiding, showing Naruto the path to the title of Hokage, just like he'd said. It was that line of thinking that caused Naruto to remember his other startling discovery. Flashback. "Come on, Naruto," said Kakashi, "just relax and watch my hands." Naruto took in a deep breath and opened his right eye, watching Kakashi. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Kakashi let the huge ball of fire fly into the air. "Now follow me this time," he said. Naruto cleared his mind and let his instincts take over, just like Kakashi had instructed. Fire style, fireball jutsu. They said as one. Naruto's was as big as Kakashi's, causing the Jounin to gasp. "Amazing," he said. "What?" asked Naruto. "It would seem that not only did Sasuke give you Sharingan, but the Uchiha's unparalleled control of fire jutsu as well. The Nine Tails seems to have adapted your body to use Sasuke's DNA." Naruto let out a gasp. "What does that mean?" he asked, suddenly slightly afraid. "Don't worry, you're still you," said Kakashi. "You just have a little bit of Uchiha blood in you, know." End flashback. Since then, Naruto had been improving on his fire jutsu, and he was getting quite good at it. He was working on a few others that he had yet to perfect. All in all, his skill in ninjutsu was improving, and that to very good taijutsu, and you had yourself a pretty good ninja. He wanted to learn genjutsu, and Kakashi said he would be able to learn a little as he got better with Sharingan, but he wasn't a genjutsu type, so the genjutsu he could learn would be very limited. A few hours later, Haru relieved Naruto so he could get some sleep as well. Naruto walked deeper into the cave and entered the tent to find Sakura sleeping comfortably in her bedroll. Naruto slipped into his, which was to her right, and laid on his back with his hands crossed under his head. Sakura rolled over and curled up against him, resting her head on his chest. Naruto, focusing on her presence, slowly drifted off. When he awoke again, Sakura's warm body was gone. He sat up and looked around the tent. Sakura was gone, but Haru was there, sleeping with his back to Naruto. Naruto brushed the top of his bedroll off his legs and left the tent. Once outside, he stretched and made his way to the tent entrance. Sakura was sitting there on watch. She turned to look at him as he approached. "What time is it?" he asked her. "Almost dawn," she replied. "We should probably get moving." Naruto nodded and went back into the tent, where he woke up Haru, and together they collapsed the tent and put it back in Sakura's pack. Naruto carried her pack out to her as he threw his own across his back. Haru's pack seemed to have vanished. "Haru, where's your pack?" asked Naruto. "Don't have it anymore," answered Haru. "I didn't have anything else in it, so I made it into this." He held up and sort of carrier, and Naruto saw that the demon wind was in it. the ring sticking out the top for quick access. Ah, I see, said Naruto, impressed. Well, we better get moving. They leapt into the trees. Little did they know that they were being followed. Dosu, Kin, and Zaku watched their targets leap into the air and off into the trees. Lord Orochimaru had said to target them, to test their might. He had something planned for the village, and waited to see how well the genin in the village were being trained. Kakashi's Team 7 had the most promising candidates in the year batch of rookies, so they were the targets. They'd been watching them all night, trying to see if they could find a weakness to exploit, but so far they had found nothing. So they would trail them, and wait for the right moment to strike. Naruto, Sakura, and Haru had been on the move all day and were nearing the tower. They were currently taking a break by a river. Naruto knelt on its bank, washing his face in the cool stream when he felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He searched his surroundings for danger but couldn't find any. Thinking that maybe it was just fatigue, he decided to let it go for the time being. He returned to his teammates who were currently trying to devise a way to obtain an Earth Scroll. It was then that Naruto saw them. Sitting in a tree 50 yards behind them were the enemy ninja. Careful as to not give away that he was aware of their presence, he walked to his teammates and knelt down next to them. We're being watched, he whispered. Don't react, but there are 3 enemy ninja 50 yards directly behind Haru. The other continued to act as if he had said nothing, but where they were drawing a map of the surrounding area, they both drew check marks, indicating that they understood. The attack would have been fatal, had the 3 not already been aware it was coming. The lead man, a man wrapped almost completely in bandages, landed where they were drawing their map. The 3-leaf ninja dove towards the river and rolled to their feet, weapons in hand. Naruto had his 2 kunai, Haru wielded the demon wind, and Sakura had a kunai in her hand. So, said the mummy man, you were aware of our presence all this time? What if we were? Countered Haru. The mummy man was joined by 2 others, a man with spiky hair and a lean woman. All 3 wore headbands with musical notes on them. I'm curious, said the mummy, what kind of scroll do you carry? You see, we carry this Earth Scroll. He held up the Earth Scroll. Their reactions gave them away. So you need this Earth Scroll to go with the Heaven Scroll you carry. How about a deal? We both lay our scrolls on the ground, and then we fight. Whoever wins, get to take both scrolls with them. Naruto wanted to accept. An Earth Scroll had fell right into their laps. But if the man was revealing what kind of scroll he had, it could only mean that he was confident in his and his teammates' chances of winning. But they really didn't have any choice. I'll take your deal, said Naruto, and pulled the Heaven Scroll out of his pack. He set it on the ground next to the mummy man's scroll and leapt back to his team. Okay, guys, he said, any ideas? Yeah, I've got one, said Sakura, but I'm going to need time, 2 or 3 minutes at least. In the world of a ninja, 2 minutes was a lifetime, 3, an eternity. Naruto nodded. Alright, Haru, and I will keep them busy, said Naruto. Haru nodded in agreement, and started to spin the demon wind. Sakura leapt back a ways and started making hand signs. Naruto sheathed his 2 knives and started his hand signs. Too late! Yelled the spiky-haired man. He held up his hands and a wall of air rushed at Naruto. Naruto finished just in time. Fire style, great fireball jutsu. He launched a mass of flames at the wall of air. They clashed and the shock wave caused everyone to shield their face, all but Sakura, who was too far back. When Naruto and his opponents recovered, they all noticed Haru was gone. Naruto feared the worst, however his fears were quickly put to rest when he saw a loud yell. He looked up and saw Haru spin his body over, using his own momentum to put even more force into the throw, just as Sasuke had while fighting Zabuza. The demon wind flew at the ninja with blinding speed, but the mummy man pulled up his sleeve and revealed a strange-look gauntlet with holes in it. He blocked the large shuriken with it. Haru caught it as it flew back at him. He hit the ground and collapsed it, blocking the strike the mummy had aimed at him. They stood still, eyed each other down, when Haru gasped and fell to one knee, blood running out of his left ear. Naruto was on the moving, drawing his 2 kunai. He kicked the mummy man in the face, sending him flying backward, and then deflected 2 throwing needles that the girl had thrown. Haru was on his feet and running the spiky-haired guy, only to have a wall of air hit him in the face. Naruto turned to help him, but was cut off by the girl. The mummy soon got to his feet and was running towards him. Come on, Sakura, he thought. It was in that moment that the 2 attacking Naruto stopped altogether. The spiky-haired guy was still blasting Haru with a massive wall of air, pinning him to the ground. Naruto dodged around the girl, who now had her hands around her own throat, and ran up behind the guy. He slid under his arms and drove both kunai into his arms, at the elbows. He screamed in pain. Haru kicked him in the face. He crashed to the ground, unconscious. Naruto turned to look at Sakura, who was on her hands and knees, breathing very hard. So, that's what she was doing, he thought, genjutsu. He looked back at the mummy man and the girl. The girl was on the ground. She'd strangled herself to unconsciousness. The mummy man was on his knees gasping for air. He must have been able to hold out long enough for Sakura's jutsu to wear off. You are indeed powerful, and we underestimated you, said the mummy man. The earth scroll is yours, please let us go. Naruto picked up the 2 scrolls and turned towards his fallen foes. Begone, he said. Thank you, until we meet again. He stood up and carried of both off his teammates. Naruto quickly joined Haru at Sakura's side. Sakura, that was amazing, he said. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. She said it'd take a lot of my chakra and I can't hold it for long. It's okay, said Naruto, you held it long enough for what we needed. Look. He held out the 2 scrolls. We've got both scrolls, let's rest here tonight and head for the tower in the morning. No one disagreed. Naruto, Sakura and Haru gazed up at the tower as they walked inside. It wasn't as large as Naruto had expected up, it was a decent size. They stepped into the room labeled 13 and closed the door behind them. It had taken most of the day to reach the tower, so there were still 3 nights and 2 days until the test ended. They would be here for a while. They started searching the room, when Sakura found a large poster on the wall. After reading it, she turned to her 2 teammates. I think we have to open the scrolls now, she said. The other 2 looked at her curiously for a second before following her orders. Haru and Naruto each took an scroll and opened it. They started to smoke, so the 2 threw them away, drawing their weapons. When the smoke cleared, Iruka-sensei stood in front of them. Congratulations on passing the 2nd exam, he said. Iruka-sensei? Asked Naruto. That's right, said his old sensei. Why are you here? Asked Sakura. Well, I'm here to explain the exam, he said. And what it means to be Chunin. You see, a Chunin is a leader. The exam demanded teamwork, and it was up to the leader to get their team to work together as a cohesive unit. Secondly, it pitted you against the other. The team had to decide who to approach each obstacle. One through teamwork could this exam be completed. After his explanation of the exam, Iruka asked them about the challenges they had faced in the forest before finally wishing them good luck on the next exam. The next 2 days passed slowly, but it gave them time to replenish what chakra they had used in the forest. After the time limit was up, the door in the back of the room opened. This led into a hallway where the rest of the qualifying team were. They all followed the hall into a huge room. On an elevated platform stood each sensei of the remaining teams, the 2nd exam proctor, and the 3rd Hokage. All right, each team line up in single file, said the exam proctor. After lining up, the Hokage spoke. First off, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you on reaching the 3rd exam, he said. As he spoke, Naruto glanced around. Shikamaru and his team made it, Kiba and the others too. The team from the Sand Village, and the Sound team that had fought Naruto and his team. And 2 other Leaf teams. One was Team Guy and the other had no one that Naruto recognized. Each person looked rather strange, and silver-haired man with glasses was in the front. Now, the Hokage, it's time to. He was interrupted by another Leaf ninja dropping from the roof. Lord Hokage, he said as proctor for the 3rd exam, I, Hate Gekko, wished to address them. Very well, said the Hokage. Hate turned to them. Hello everyone, he said. Before we can begin the 3rd exam, we have to have a set of preliminary bouts. What the hell for? Demanded Kiba. Frankly speaking, said the proctor, we didn't expect this many of you to make it. We must thin down your numbers. Before we do, however, is there any among you who wish to end it here? The man in glasses raised his hand. All right, you got me, I'm out, he said. Kabuto Yakusher, said the 2nd exam proctor. Very well, said Hate, if that is it, then the prelims begin right now. A screen high in the wall began to randomly go through names. It ended on Haru and one of the Leaf ninja dressed in purple. The other went up to the catwalks on either end of the room. Only Haru and his opponent remained. It was time for the 3rd exams to begin. To say Haru was nervous would have been a gross understatement. He wanted to run. Run and keep running. The only thing that kept him there was the feeling of his 2 teammates, and Captain's eyes on him. He wanted to be strong, make them proud, but this guy looked unlike anything he'd ever fought. It was intimidating, and a little scary. Haru's legs were shaking, his palms were sweating, and he was getting hotter and hotter as he got more and more nervous. He glanced up at Naruto, whose face was blank and unreadable. Secret envy welled up inside him. He wished he could be cool and collected all the time. He shifted his gaze to Sakura, who looked a bit worried. Oddly enough, this caused Haru's envy of Naruto to grow. Sakura looked worried. Why couldn't Naruto worry about him? He turned back to look at his enemy. The black holes where he should have had eyes made him extremely uneasy. So he resorted to the only thing he knew. He dropped his gaze to the man's waist. Worry gripped at Naruto's heart as he watched Haru. He wasn't ready for this, Naruto knew that. Haru's close combat skills had improved during the 2 months he'd been with Sakura and Naruto, but not by much. He had the demon wind, so that would help a bit, but he still wasn't a very good fighter. This was going to be interesting. He watched as the two squared off, eyeing each other, waiting for the other to make a move. The black-eyed man's fingers twitched. Haru whipped the demon wind off his back, drawing and opening it up in a single move. He threw the large weapon at his opponent, and raced at him, drawing a kunai. Black Eyes ducked the spinning weapon and came up running. Haru snatched the blade out of the air as it arced and came back to him. Wielding the demon wind in his right hand and the kunai in his left, he clashed with his enemy. The man caught both of his wrists to stop his attack. Almost instantly Haru felt his energy levels drop. He jumped off his feet and planted them on the man's chest, pushing off. The man's grip on his wrist broke and he sailed 15 feet before landing on his back. Nice move, praised Naruto as Haru dragged himself back to his feet as Black Eyes charged him. Haru desperately threw the shuriken at the man, trying to keep him at bay. The man simply dodged around it and continued his advance. Haru leapt away, trying to put distance between them. He couldn't afford to have the man make contact with him. His touch seemed to drain his energy. The man followed him. Haru caught the shuriken and snapped it closed just in time to block an attack. Haru looked back in his eyes and instantly regretted it. They made him so nervous. He pushed away, backing up even more. The man didn't follow this time. Haru sagged a bit. The chakra the man had drained had taken a toll on him. He needed to end this quickly. Haru is on the retreat, said Kakashi. He need to go on the offensive. Naruto glanced up at his sensei before returning his gaze back to the fight. But we know that Haru's combat skills aren't that great. He said he's going to need to do something drastic. Naruto leaned against the railing, absent-mindedly scratching the bandaged side of his face. He hadn't had the chance to change them during the second test, and they were really dirty. But he couldn't do anything about it now. Haru was fighting and wasn't doing well at all. Haru threw the shuriken at the man again, trying to see if he could throw him off balance. Don't you have any other tricks? Asked the man as he leapt over it. Haru gritted his teeth. I have to do it, he thought, but I'm still not very good at it. I could mess up, I could get hurt. Just as he decided not to do it, a scene flashed through his mind. Flashback. Haru ran through the woods, the enemy ninja hot on his trail. This was not good. He could get away. His toe caught a rock and with a cry of pain he fell to the ground. He turned over and gazed at the ninja in fear as they stood over him, weapons gleaming in the subtle sunlight that crept through the trees. One of them carried a long polearm with a crescent blade draped over his shoulder. Haru watched him raise it over his head and closed his eyes, waiting for the end. He was met with a grunt of pain. Snapping his eyes back open, he saw a person standing in front of him in a blood-red shirt and shaggy blonde hair. Naruto? He said, stunned. What are you doing here? Naruto turned to look over his shoulder. In his eye Haru saw a look of disgust. Drawing his two kunai, Naruto charged directly at the men. In 30 seconds the men were on the ground, of them dead, or quickly approaching it. Naruto cleaned his blades on the clothing and sheathed them before turned to Haru and helping him up. Why are you here? Asked Haru. Naruto said nothing, he was just staring into the sky. What if you got hurt? What if they had taken you prisoner? What if? As ninja, we are not allowed the luxury of what if, Naruto cut across him. Haru fell silent. Do not say that phrase again, all it will do is cause you to hesitate. If you hesitate on a mission, someone's going to end up dead. Haru looked at the ground, ashamed in himself. Naruto finally looked at him. Haru, you are ninja, and wearing the headband on your forehead you've accepted the mantle of the Hidden Leaf Village, said Naruto. You and I are genin, the future of our village. We don't have time to screw around, we must advance and take the defense of our village onto our shoulders and help Kakashi-sensei. Never hesitate again. End flashback. It didn't take a genius to know that Naruto had been thinking about the time he'd hesitated while fighting Haku with Sasuke. Haru's resolve hardened. No! He thought, no dwelling on what might happen. He sheathed the kunai and caught the demon wind. Then threw it with all his might. It arced high into the air, too high. While everyone, including his opponent, watched the shuriken, Naruto and Kakashi watched Haru flash through hand signs. Then he sank into the ground. Earth type, huh? Said Kakashi. The black-eyed man watched the demon wind fly high over his head before turning back to Haru, a jeer on his lips. It died on his tongue, however, when he saw the young man was gone. Then, to everyone's disbelief, 10 Harus raised out the ground. Earth clones, said Naruto to Sakura when she gave him a look of confusion. Realization dawned on her, and she looked back down at the match. The black-eyed man didn't seem to know what to do. He gazed around trying to find the really one. Having said one? Some, said another one. Trouble? said a third, but they said it in such quick succession it came out having some trouble? Naruto watched as the clones converged on the man, all wielding kunai. There was a massive dust cloud as the man destroyed some of them, but when it all cleared, Haru stood triumphant. Hei walked over and knelt next to the man and checked him. "The winner is Haru Muri," he said. "Woohoo!" yelled Sakura. Naruto nodded in approval as Haru looked up at them. He soon joined them on the catwalk, looking tired but happy. Naruto turned to face him, a small smile playing on his lips. He stuck out his hand. Haru let out a small gasp before taking Naruto's hand in a handshake. They heard the board on the wall start to cycle through names again. They all turned to look at it. It ended on Zaku of the Sound Village and Shino Aburame. The two leapt to the floor. The guy Zaku looked up at Naruto and gave him a glare. His arms were in a sling. How does he plan to fight with his arms in a sling? Thought Haru aloud. Well, said Zaku, it looks like I've got a little movement in this one. He pulled his left arm out of the sling and pointed it at Shino. Shino didn't so much as draw his hands out of his jacket pockets. Without warning, Zaku blasted a huge sound wave at Shino. When the dust cleared, Shino stood tall, bugs covering his entire body. Ugh, gross, said Sakura. What is he? In the village hidden in the leaf there is a clan of bug masters, said Kakashi the Aburame. When one of them is born, they enter a secret pact with the insects. He provides them with a nest and food, and in return they fight for him. A nest and food? Asked Haru. What do you mean? He gulped, having a good idea what Kakashi was talking about. His body and his chakra, said Kakashi. Though he did show it, Naruto wanted to throw up. The thought made him nauseous. The insects flowed off Shino and swarmed Zaku. Naruto turned away and leaned on the rail, crossing his arms over his chest. It's over, he said. No sooner than he finished, Zaku let out a terrible scream as the bugs swarmed over him, devouring his chakra. That was so gross, said Sakura. Naruto gazed around and saw that was the general belief. Zaku was carted off by the medical corp. After a brief intermission, the board started cycling names again. It ended on the shinobi and the stupid cat-eared hood from the Sand Village and Haru's opponent's teammate. The Sand Ninja, Kankuro, took the large thing wrapped in bandages off his back, holding it out to his side. His opponent attacked him and threw a single punch which Kankuro easily blocked. Then the guy's arm snaked up Kankuro's. In no time at all the man had his limbs wrapped around Kankuro with one arm wrapped around his neck. Oh man, said Sakura, first the human bug hive, now this. Naruto could help but agree with her. There was a loud crack and Naruto knew Kankuro's neck had just been broke. Hei took a step forward like he was going to stop fight. Then Kankuro twitched, and head spun a 180. Haru made a wrenching sound. Then the thing Kankuro had dropped burst open, revealing a second Kankuro. The first Kankuro sprouted 4 more arms for a total of 6 and wrapped them tightly around his enemy. After a few seconds of struggling, the man gave and the match ended. Geez, muttered Naruto, one weirdo after another. The board stopped when the two names. Naruto glanced up at it. Not good, he thought. Ino and Sakura, despite what they said, the two still cared for each other. Sakura and Ino both seemed to have froze. They glanced at each other, seemed to hesitate, before the looks hardened. They joined each other on the ground, glaring at each other. All right, said Hate, you may begin. Sakura raced straight at Ino and threw a hard punch at her face. Ino dodged her head out of the way, but before she could counter, Sakura grabbed the back of her head and yanked it down, at the same time bringing her right knee up hard. Ino's head snapped back and she stumbled back, a look of shock on her face. Because Team 7 hadn't spent a lot of time around the rest of the rookies, Sakura's growth was wildly and unknown. So the look of shock on everyone's faces came as no surprise to Naruto as he glanced around, a small smirk on his face and a feeling of pride in his chest. Sakura kicked Ino hard in the gut. Ino backed up, clutching at her stomach. How? She gasped out. How did you get so strong? Sakura smirked. How? It's called hard work, Ino. After the land of the waves, my total inability to do anything at all spurred me to get stronger, so that the next time we face an enemy I'll be a help, not a liability. With that she started hand signs. Though no one but Kakashi knew it, Sakura was a power genjutsu-type ninja with a water affinity. Because of her great chakra control, she could cast water jutsu even if there was no water around by simply turning her chakra in the water for the jutsu. However, it was significantly weaker than if she used nature's water. Her chakra still got the job done though. Water style, water bullets. She held her hands open towards Ino and launched massive bullets of water at Ino, 20 in rapid succession. Ino dropped to one knee. Sakura stood over her, a kunai in her hand. Okay, Sakura, she said, I give you win. Naruto gave a small fist pump by his hip. The gesture was missed by all but Kakashi. Naruto glanced at the rest of the rookies. They all had looks of amazement on their faces. It didn't surprise him. Ino was widely considered to be one of the best female ninja in their age group. However, Sakura had beaten her with minimal effort. Sakura held her hand out to Ino and helped her up. The two watched each other for a minute. Sakura gave her a smile, a real smile. "Just hang in there, Ino," she said. "If I can do it, so can you." Together they climbed the stairs and joined the rest of the Leaf Genin. Ino left to join her team and Sakura joined Naruto and Haru. "Well, 2 out of 3, said Kakashi. "Will go for a sweep, be ready, Naruto." They all gave him a small smile. "Right," he said. Suddenly Sakura slumped against the wall and slid down it to the ground. Naruto knelt next to her. "You okay?" he asked in a quiet voice. Sakura gave him a reassuring smile. "I'm okay," she said. "The chakra I used for the genjutsu in the forest hadn't fully replenished when I used the water jutsu. I'm just tired." She gave him another tired smile, touched by his concern. Naruto nodded, returning her smile with a small one of his own. Before he stood up, he pulled her into a hug and quietly, so only she could hear, said, "I had faith in you. I knew you would win." That said, he stood up and stepped back up the railing to watch the next match. The two opponents had already been chosen. Tenten and Temari. Tenten leapt away. And her team started cheering, loudly. Naruto had to cover his ears. The two stood staring at each other. Temari goaded Tenten into attacking. Tenten leapt into the air and threw 6 shuriken at Temari. They flew straight and on target, then suddenly they stopped and dropped to the ground. Naruto blinked for a minute, then it dawned on him. "Wind," he thought. "It's over." Haru looked at him in shock. "How can you say that?" he demanded. "Tenten is a fellow Leaf Ninja. We must believe in her." Naruto looked at him. "Don't be stupid, Haru," he said. "Believe me, I would like to see Tenten win. It's bad luck, really. Temari is the one person so far who could actually beat her. It's over, Haru, just watch." Temari unfurled her fan and swung it, causing a huge vortex that lifted Tenten into the air. Wind sliced at the helpless girl before she fell hard onto Temari's collapsed fan. "The winner is," Temari said. "Hate." An evil grin crossed Temari's face. She tossed Tenten at the weapon she had used. Lee leapt into the battle area and caught her. "Nice catch," she said. "Now take that pathetic piece of garbage out of here." "What did you say?" he demanded. He gently set Tenten down and looked like he was about to charge the girl, when Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him, his arms stretched out in front of Lee, his one-eyed gaze locked onto Temari. Everyone gasped. When did he get so fast? Thought Sakura. Naruto thought Kakashi. What are you playing at? Lee, don't, said Naruto. She's not worth your time. Take Tenten to Gai-sensei. Lee was stunned by Naruto's sudden appearance. Right, he said and carried her off. Naruto stood and glared at Temari. She broke eye contact and turned to join her teammates. Naruto followed Lee. When they reached the top, Kakashi pulled Naruto aside. "Naruto, what are you doing?" he demanded. "What do you mean?" asked Naruto, confused. "Your unknown growth is an advantage," he said. "Why show it now in a rush to stop Lee?" Naruto hesitated. "Don't be so hasty to show off, wait until the match." "Yes, sir," Naruto said dejectedly. Kakashi gave him a one-eyed smile and patted him on the shoulder. "I know you're eager to test yourself," he said gently, "but don't let that eagerness compromise you." Naruto nodded and walked back to Haru, a bit ashamed of himself. "Everything all right?" asked Haru. "Yeah," said Naruto quietly. Sakura stood up and joined them. "You sure you're okay to be moving around, Sakura?" She gave him a smile. "I'm fine," she said. "Besides, they're getting towards the end. I don't want to miss your match." She gave him a small smile and slipped her hand into his, and gave it a small squeeze. Sakura knew it was the only show of affection Naruto would allow right now. Shikamaru and Kin were the next two to fight. Their fight started off slow, but that was to be expected with anything involving Shikamaru. Kin threw 2 Senbon at Shikamaru, who quickly dodged them. There were bells attached. "That simple trick?" asked Naruto next. Shio threw Senbon with bells and Senbon without. Shikamaru started dodging all the Senbon, before he suddenly froze. "Genjutsu," said Sakura. "What?" gasped Naruto, snapping his gaze up to Sakura. "It looks like this is when the affects his ears," she said. "I guess that's surprising considering what village she's from." Kin threw 3 Senbon. Shikamaru managed to cover up just in time. "It's amazing he can even move," she said. Suddenly all action stopped. Kin's face had a look of horror on it. "He got her," said Naruto. Shikamaru pulled a shuriken out of his pouch, which was mirrored by Kin. "Are you crazy?" demanded Kin. Oh come on, it's be fun, said Shikamaru like a game of chicken, let's see whose ducks first. He threw the shuriken at her. The two shuriken raced at their targets. Just as it reached him, Shikamaru bent over backwards. Kin mirrored him, and bashed her head on the wall. The wise shinobi properly scouts the battlefield and is always aware of his position on it, he said. The match was over. After he joined the rest, the wall on the board began to cycle through names, until finally it landed on Naruto and Kiba. It's us against the kid Akamaru, shouted Kiba. He leapt down and ran to the far side waiting for Naruto. Naruto straightened and started walking towards the stairs. Kakashi stopped him. Naruto, he said, only use it as a last resort, but I'm giving you permission to use it. Naruto gave him a short nod and continued to the stairs. As he left, Sakura was giving Kakashi an uneasy look. All around them were words of pity for Naruto. Oh man, Naruto doesn't have a chance, said Ino. Kiba is so lucky, said Choji. And Kurenai looked pretty smug, like the match was already over. Don't worry, Sakura, he smiled. He ready, Naruto and I haven't just been goofing off the last 6 months. Haru was glancing back and forth between them, confused. He had faith in you, both of you. Now have faith in him. They both nodded and turned to watch. Now your chance, Naruto, he thought. Show them all how much you've grown. Naruto stood across from Kiba, his face ever stoic. Sorry, Naruto, he said, nothing personal. With that he dropped onto all fours, his teeth and fingernails elongating. Ninja art, beast mimicry. He vanished only to reappear with his elbow buried deep in Naruto's gut. Naruto's body absorbed the shot, and he flew several feet, landing hard on his back. Oh no! Exclaimed Haru. In the 5 months he'd known him, Haru had never seen Naruto take a solid hit. Naruto was still for a second. Kida was about to turn to hate when he stirred. He turned back to Naruto, a look of disbelief on his face. Naruto was up and running, both kunai in his hand. Kiba let out a growl and charged at Naruto, drawing one of his own kunai. Naruto swung his right hand. Kiba ducked that kunai and stabbed with his own. Naruto blocked it with the kunai in his left. They disengaged. So, I see you picked up a little bit of ability, said Kiba. You came a long way since the academy. Naruto couldn't help but smirk as he sheathed his kunai. This didn't go missed by Kiba. You have no idea, said Naruto, how right you are. Naruto started flashing through hand signs so quickly that Kiba could keep up. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, he yelled. What? Exclaimed Kiba. The 15 small fireballs converged on him. Kiba barely escaped. Asuma looked at Kakashi in shock. That move, he said, that's a fire jutsu of the Uchiha clan? So how is it Naruto knows it? Kakashi gave him a one-eyed smile. Oh, you'll see, he replied. Kiba came up charging and drew 2 smoke bottoms. Let's go, Akamaru, he said, and threw the smoke bombs. No one could see a thing. Akamaru leapt into the smoke, using his nose to track Naruto. As the smoke started to clear, Kiba charged kunai in hand. Naruto! Yelled Sakura and moved to jump down. Stop, Sakura! Said Kakashi. Sakura was stunned. Kakashi had never raised his voice to her like that. Have faith in Naruto. Sakura climbed down off the railing. Just as the smoke completely cleared, Kiba was in Naruto's face and plunged the kunai in his stomach. Naruto! Sakura yelled again. A look of shock was on everyone's faces. Everyone in the building heard the distinct drip, drip, drip of water. A look of shock crossed Kiba's face as he watched water flow out of the wound in Naruto's stomach. Then the water clone collapsed. Kiba searched frantically for him. Where is he? He said aloud. His answer was a hard punch across the face. Kiba stumbled back. When the hell did you learn to use water clones, and fire jutsu for that matter? Naruto smirked. I wouldn't worry about that right now if were you, said Naruto. Fine, said Kiba, but at least tell me how you used the water clone. Fair enough, said Naruto. Kiba, look around you, at all the water on the floor. It's left over from the time Sakura pummeled Ino with her water bullets. When you threw your smoke bombs, I simply used the water on the floor and created a water clone. Kiba growled, baring his fangs. Then he sprinted at Naruto. Tunneling Fong! He shouted and began to rapidly spin. Naruto didn't have time to react. Kiba hit him right in the chest, tearing his shirt to shreds. After being bored into for 10 seconds, Naruto finally managed to push Kiba to the side a bit and slip away. As soon as he broke contact, he dropped to one knee, clutching at his stomach. Kiba flipped out of his attack and stood tall, a triumphant look in his face. I gotta say, he said, I'm actually impressed you even still standing. Naruto glared at him, his cobalt eyes burning a hole in him. Kiba took a step back and slipped his hand into his pouch, drawing out 2 food pills. He tossed onto Akamaru, before popping one in his own mouth. Let's go, Akamaru. Man/beast clones. He shouted as Akamaru leapt on his back. In a flash there were 2 Kibas. They ran at Naruto on all fours. Fang over Fang. They shouted. Naruto leapt out of the way. Kiba came to a stop. You know you're pretty pathetic, he said with all the honesty in the world. It takes you 3 tries to pass the academy graduation exam, which you only passed in the end on a technicality. Then you botch every D-ranked mission you go on, only succeeding at those missions because of Sasuke, and then… Kakashi turned to Kurenai. Kurenai, whatever happens to Kiba, you cannot hold it against Naruto, he said. Kiba is going to bring on himself. Kurenai looked at him surprised. Excuse me? She said. Naruto is about to kill Kiba, said Kakashi as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I fail to see how that's going to happen, she replied. He can't barely stand. Naruto's emotions are barely not gone, said Kakashi. Kiba is about to unleash something he'll never forget. Sakura was just as confused as Kurenai. She gazed at the 2 taking and realization dawned on her. Kiba, that idiot, she said. Is he trying to get killed? You let Sasuke die, you did nothing to help him, as he defended you, finished Kiba. Naruto's face darkened. Take it back, said Naruto darkly. Kiba laughed. What's that? He said. Take back what you said, shouted Naruto. Tore the remains of his shirt off. His entire torso was covered and scared like he'd been stabbed by hundreds of thin weapons, needle scars. He vanished only to reappear right in front of Kiba and smashed him to the ground. He rained punch after punch into Kiba's face. The second Kiba ran at Naruto and knocked him off Kiba. Naruto skidded to a halt on one knee. Kiba dragged himself to his feet, rage burning in his eyes. This is getting intense, said Shikamaru. Naruto is completely different from when we were in the academy. You said it, replied Ino, a bit nervous as to what was going to happen next. The 3 Jounin-sensei moved together, in case they had to intervene. Naruto glanced up at Kakashi, a question in his eye. Go ahead, Naruto, he replied. You're ready, show them your power. The 3rd Hokage had been watching all the fights with mild interest. This fight, however, he'd been paying the closest attention to. He'd promised Minato he'd watch over the boy. He wanted to see how far he'd come. He'd been pleasantly surprised at May point in the match, but in Kakashi's words, he sat up a bit straighter. In fact, everyone in the building seemed to be watching closing. Kakashi, what are you talking about? Asked Asuma. Just watch, said Kakashi. Keep your eyes on Naruto, he's about to surprise you. Naruto slowly untied his headband and laid it across his knee. Then with a glance at Kiba, his hands moved to the bandages on his face. Kiba wanted to attack, but his curiosity got the better of him. He didn't move. Sasuke, thought Naruto, lend me your strength, help me, in this desperate hour. The final bandage was removed. Naruto tossed it away and picked his headband back up and tied it around his forehead. Then he stood up straight, proud and tall, his earlier rage forgotten. After 10 months of closure, Naruto snapped his right eye open, unveiling Sharingan. The entire building let out a gasp. The Hokage leapt to his feet. Sharingan, but that's… If any of you ever wondered why I insisted on continuing Naruto's train myself, said Kakashi, now you know. Sharingan! Exclaimed Kurenai, but how? When? In the land of the waves, said Kakashi. Sasuke didn't die protecting Naruto. He died as they fought side by side. During the fight, Naruto lost his right eye, pierced by Saban as he defended Sasuke's body. After the fight was over, Sasuke gave Naruto Sharingan, as a gift of friendship and brotherhood. The village grieves over the lose of the Uchiha clan, while Naruto grieves the lose of Sasuke Uchiha, the closest thing he's ever had to a brother. The village slanders him for allowing the last of the Uchiha to die, while Naruto punishes himself for not being able to protect a comrade. In fact, I believe Shikamaru here is the only one who's ever taken the time to check on Naruto. Every single one of them looked ashamed of themselves. Kakashi turned his gaze to Sakura, who was beaming with pride for her sensei and for her teammate. No matter how hard he tried, Kiba couldn't tear his gaze away from Naruto's right eye. It entranced him, drew him in. He took a step towards him, then back. Then shook his head. Naruto copied it all perfectly. Kiba's cracked, said Kurenai. Naruto's got the match in the bag. Kiba's thoughts aren't even his own. He finally shook himself free of the red eyes' piercing gaze and attacked using his Akamaru and his Fang over Fang. Naruto sidestepped it, and brought his right leg up in a hard kick, catching the real Kiba in the chest. The jutsu broke almost instantly as Kiba crashed to the ground. Naruto calmly settled over Kiba and put a kunai to his throat. Akamaru had no choice but to back down. Hate leapt to Kiba and Naruto, checking Kiba for vital signs. Because his opponent is unable to continue, the winner in Naruto Uzumaki, said Hate. Haru, Sakura, and Lee all burst into cheers. Naruto stood up. With a tired sigh, he pulled his headband down over his Sharingan. He turned and walked toward the stairs, tucking his hands in his pockets. He reached his team, where he received congratulations from all of the Leaf Genin. Leave it to you to have something like that under your belt, said Shikamaru. That was awesome, said Haru. Why didn't you tell me you had the Sharingan? I wasn't allowed to reveal it until now, replied Naruto. After the rest of the Rookie 9 left him, Sakura pulled Naruto into a hug. Great job, Naruto, she said. Naruto hesitated for a minute, then returned it, holding her tightly. Very good, Naruto, said Kakashi. Using the hypnotic eye to make Kiba think he wanted to use Fang over Fang, even tricked him into being on the left where he'd be open. Naruto smirked. Thanks, he said. Here, said Kakashi, pulling off his Jounin vest and draping it over his shoulders. Wear this until we can get you a shirt. Thanks again, said Naruto, slipping his arms through it and zipping it up. The next two opponents were Hinata and Niji Hyuga. They stood across from each other. Hinata looked terrified, scared like she wanted to run. Then she took a quick glance at Naruto. Her resolve seemed to harden. They both took the same stance. Of course, said Lee, the Hyuga style, that is why their stances are the same. They are both from the Hyuga clan. The two charged each other, striking hard with chakra bursts from each of the strikes. Naruto pulled the headband from his Sharingan. It's amazing, he said. They released sharp bursts of chakra, driving them into their opponent's body. Niji finally landed a blow on her throat, causing her to back up, clutching at her chest. The resolve drained from her face for a split second before returning. She charged him again, taking a hard shot right to the heart. Damn it, said Naruto. She fought a good fight, but it's over. He pulled the headband over the Sharingan. Then a gasp escaped his lips. She was getting back up. No, 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 he said. Stay down, don't do anything crazy. She dragged herself to her feet. Niji let out a cry of rage and charged. In a flash, Naruto disappeared, only to reappear right in front of Niji. The fight is over, Niji, he said. Niji scoffed and left the arena floor. Naruto turned and ran to Hinata. He was soon joined by Kurenai, who knelt down and yanked her jacket open. She's going into cardiac arrest, she said. Naruto leapt out of the way as the medical corps raced in. They had her up and gone in 15 seconds. Naruto returned to his team, where Sakura wrapped her arms around Naruto's right arm. Her previous inhibitions forgotten. The board on the wall scanned through names and came to a stop on Rock Lee and Choji. Lee jumped to the ground and waited for Choji to reach him. Once he did, Lee gave him a deep bow. It is an honor to face a fellow ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village, he said. That said, he took his headband off his waist and tied it around his forehead. You know, said Naruto, I'm liking this Lee guy more and more. Sakura smiled. It was so nice to see Naruto opening up. He was smiling a bit more, not big smile up smiles, nonetheless. The fight between Lee and Choji was pretty lame, really. Choji tried to use his human boulder jutsu, which Lee stopped with him with a hard kick. Choji deflated. He was tired and a little scared. He charged Lee. Lee kicked him once, sending him flying, and the match ended. Was all Naruto could say. Lee helped Choji up and carried him to the catwalk with the rest. My apologies, he said. I didn't mean to embarrass you. No, that's okay, said Choji. Either once of us held but, and you were the victor. No need to apologize for that. Naruto couldn't help but smile. The last match was Dosu versus Gaara. Gaara stood across from Dosu with his arms crossed and the gourd on his back pouring sand. Sop, that's what's in that gourd, mumbled Naruto. It's sand. Dosu charged Naruto, pulling back his sleeve and revealing his weird glove. He punched at Gaara. The sand rose to Gaara's defense. Then it wrapped around Dosu's arm and covered his body. Sand coffin, said Gaara. Dosu struggled, trying to get free. Gaara raised his open hand, pointing the palm at Dosu. Sand burial. The sand crushed Dosu. Sakura turned away, hiding her face in Naruto's chest. The sand retreated back into the gourd. There was no sign of Dosu at all. Gaara left the battlefield. All right, and with that the third test preliminaries are complete, said Hate. Can I get all the victors in a single file line in front of me? After they did as they were asked, the Hokage addressed them. First off, congratulations for passing the first round. He said the finals will be held in 1 month, so use that time to train and learn new techniques. I wish you all the best of luck. You are dismissed. Naruto turned to his team. We have 1 month, he said. You'll all be ready, said Kakashi, but it'll be a long road. Naruto's eyes slowly opened as he awoke. He rolled over and looked at the clock. It was 7 in the morning. He sat up and rubbed his eyes and stretched. Then he climbed out of bed and headed for the bathroom. Turning on the water, he climbed into the shower and let the hot liquid pour over his body, relaxing his sore muscles. He hadn't really enjoyed his shower the night before. He'd be too tired to do anything but get clean and get out. Now he let it loosen the tension in his body and soothe his aching muscles. As he stood under the shower, the battle with Kiba played over and over in his head. Why had it been so tough? Sure, Kiba was good, but Naruto knew he wasn't on Naruto's level. Hell, there were only a few at the prelims that were. Niji, that boy Gaara, and maybe Lee. So why had he had so much trouble? He even had to resort to Sharingan, which he'd hoped to save for the finals. Unable to find an answer to his question, he punched the tiled wall of his shower with a low curse. Deciding his shower was no longer relaxing, Naruto climbed out and toweled himself dry. Then he wrapped the towel low around his waist and exited the bathroom. He went down the hall and into his kitchen looking for something to eat. He opened his fridge and decided that eating was out of the question. He needed to go to the store. There was a knock on his front door. He walked over and opened it, closing his right eye. It was Sakura. Oh, hey Sakura, he said, completely forgetting about his almost total nakedness. She, however, noticed it almost immediately. Naruto, she said, shouldn't you put some clothes on? Confusion crossed Naruto's face as he looked down. Seeing his scantily clad body, Naruto blushed slightly. Sorry, come in, he said, stepping aside to allow her entrance. I'll be right back. He left the room and went to his own, where he quickly dressed in his blood-red tee and black pants. He tied his headband around his right eye and left the room. He walked back out in the living room to find Sakura sitting on his couch, patently waiting for him. It was then Naruto noticed the change. You got your hair cut, he said softly, sitting down next to her. She nodded. She said, you like it? She asked. Naruto could tell from the look on her face she wanted him to approve. Yeah, I do, he said honestly, it looks really nice. She smiled and put her head on his shoulder. You going to see him soon? She asked. He nodded. Deciding to push her luck a little, Sakura asked something she'd never asked before. Can I come? Naruto was quiet for a long time, so long in fact Sakura was about to withdraw her request when he spoke up. Yeah, I'd like that, and I think he would too, said Naruto. Sakura smiled. They soon got up and left, knowing the sooner Naruto visited him, the sooner Sakura could get him out and about. Sakura wrapped her arms around Naruto's and laid her head on his shoulder. They walked through the village, keeping to themselves, not paying any attention to the looks of interest they were getting. They weren't dating, though were sleeping with each other. They were simply best friends, and this was comfortable to them. Their journey took about half an hour, but when they arrived they stood at Sasuke's grave for quite a while. Finally Sakura sank to her knees and whispered to herself. Sasuke, thank you for all you did for me and Naruto, she said. I'm sorry I haven't visited sooner, but Naruto needed time alone with you, time to heal. He's getting there, Sasuke, as I'm sure you've seen. Please help him heal, help him let go the burden of guilt he's placed on his own shoulders. I know you bear him no animosity. I'm not sure how I do, but I do. He refuses to forgive himself, help him. Her prayer to Sasuke finished, she stood and returned to Naruto's side. Naruto was silent, reading the words on Sasuke's grave like he had a million times before. The battle on the bridge played in his mind. What could he have done different? He could have stopped the Senbon. He could have stopped Haku quicker. If only he had trained harder, focused more on getting stronger and less on ramen, Sasuke would still be here. Sakura watched as Naruto's face grew more and more pained. She knew what he was doing, blaming himself again, coming up with all the things he could have done. She'd been around him enough to know when he was sinking into depression. Deciding to take another risk, she slipped her hand in his and laced their fingers together. She gave his hand a slight squeeze. He snapped out of his thoughts and looked at her, startled. She gave him a soft smile and started to pull him away. Naruto cast one last glance back at the headstone and followed her. He half expected her to release his hand once she got him away for the grave, but she didn't. She held it firmly, guiding them both back to the village square. Once there, they wandered around the market looking at all the new items the vendors had. Naruto was standing back a bit watching Sakura look at jewelry when an old man approached him. Anything I can help you with, son? The man asked. Naruto looked at the man. His smile seemed real enough, which was weird. Naruto never got looks like that. You don't know who I am, do you? He asked. Oh, I know perfectly well who you are, said the man. And you still talk to me? asked Naruto a bit stunned. Of course, said the man like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Why? Asked Naruto, even more stunned. Young man, said the old man, I see you around the village quite a bit. Always sulking, always down. You don't fight the insults, you just take it, never once fighting back. Naruto, to me that says you didn't let the Uchiha die, that you fought with him, and that Sharingan in your right eye tells me that he meant more to you and you to him than anybody else in this whole world. But you still fight bearing the weight of Uchiha's death on your shoulders, unable to let him go. Son, until you do, you will never be able to harness your true strength. Realization washed over Naruto like a wave breaking on the shore. Until he let go of Sasuke, he'd be unable to fight to his full potential. That was why he'd had so much trouble with Kiba. He'd been unable to fight with a clear head. A part of him still focused on Sasuke's death. He was distracted. What happens if that happens on a mission, son? The old man asked. Your friends and comrades would be put in danger. Naruto was ashamed. He'd once told Haru to never hesitate, all the while being a hypocrite. He glanced over at Sakura, picturing her dead because he'd hesitated. The thought scared him. He felt as much pain thinking about Sakura dying as he had when Sasuke actually had. He looked away and clamped his eyes shut. It was all he could do to stem the flow of tears that he felt threatening to fall. After a minute he got himself under control and looked back at the man. The man was still smiling, that kind of smile. Something about that smile told Naruto he knew exactly what Naruto was going through. Naruto glanced back over at Sakura. She was chatting happily with the shop owner. She looked over and saw he looking over at her. Her grin grew even wider. She excitedly waved him over. A small smile playing on his lips, he politely excused himself and walked over to Sakura. Look, she said. She was holding a picture in her hands. Naruto's face lit on with recognition. It was him and Sasuke as young children. He remembered the day. Sasuke has made a jab at him after class one day and Naruto had gone to confront him about it. They ended up just standing side by side on the dock watching the sunset. Someone must have stumbled upon them and took the picture. Naruto's smile got a little larger as he took it out of her hands. Would you like me to be it for you? He asked. Confusion played across Sakura's face. I thought you might like to have it, she said. Naruto shook his head. It was time for him to start trying to let go of Sasuke. I have all I need, he said, pointing to the headband on his face. Here, he handed it back to her and turned to the man running the stall. He handed him the labeled price and thanked him. Then Naruto motioned for Sakura to follow him. She did so and soon had her hand intertwined in his. He looked down at her. She was looking fondly at the picture. One who didn't know what had gone on 2 minutes beforehand would have thought they were the best of friends. Sakura must have felt him staring because she looked up at him, a smile on her face. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Naruto looked at her, a question in his eyes. You're trying, aren't you? You're trying to move on. Naruto nodded. I am, he said. Sakura gave his hand a squeeze and together they walked down the street to meet Kakashi and Haru for training. When they reached Training Field 7, they weren't surprised to find that Haru was the only one waiting for them, despite their being half an hour late. Haru waved at them from where he was sitting against a tree sharpening the blades of the demon wind. Naruto and Sakura slowly made their way over to him. When they reached him, he smiled up at them and slipped his shuriken into its sheath on his back. Naruto helped him to his feet and turned to find Kakashi strolling into the field. Yo, he said. Once he reached them, he gave the instructions for the training. Taijutsu only. Oh, and if you don't mind, I thought I'd join you. The three genin looked at each other before shrugging and nodding as one. All right then, scatter, said Kakashi, and the four broke off. Haru and Sakura met each other in the middle of the field, each wielding kunai. Sakura blocked an overhead slash and countered with a hard kick to Haru's middle. Haru brought his other arm across his stomach and blocked the kick, stumbling a bit. But Sakura was unable to capitalize on the opening because Naruto flew straight over Haru's head and launched a flurry of 3 kicks, the last one being an axe kick that drove Sakura to the ground hard. Naruto landed in a crouch and leaped straight into the air to avoid a kick from Haru. He flipped backwards, drawing his 2 kunai, and landed in a low crouch with both his arms held straight out to his side, the kunai held in reverse grips. Haru pulled the demon wind off his back and flipped it open. He threw it straight at Naruto, who vanished from sight and reappeared right in front of Haru. He put a foot on Haru's knee and brought his other leg up in a knee strike. Haru fell backwards right past Sakura, who was now up and charging, her kunai in hand. Naruto, unable to defend himself in midair, took a hard kick to the solar plexus. He hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. Sakura stood over him triumphantly. She brought her leg down in an axe kick, which Naruto avoided by rolling to his left and flipping to his feet. He stared at his 2 opponents, Sakura to his left, Haru to his right. They were locked in a standstill. It then that Kakashi chose to appear. Right in the middle. Naruto didn't even hesitate, he charged Kakashi sheathing his kunai. Kakashi blocked his first punch and countered with a hard kick. Naruto ducked the kick and delivered an elbow into Kakashi's stomach. Kakashi took the hit but didn't move. Naruto flipped away. Kakashi and Naruto stared each other down. Sakura and Haru were motionless, either wanting to get caught in this fight. Faster than anyone could see, Naruto and Kakashi both pulled their handbands from their faces, unveiling their Sharingans. They charged, the force of their blows created gusts of wind, it ended in a flash. Naruto, starting to get desperate, overextended. Kakashi caught his forearm and brought the boy crashing to the ground. Alright, he said, that's it for today. It was getting late, and he needed to let them get going. Naruto stood up after Kakashi got off of him and pulled his headband down over his face. Sakura walked over to the tree and picked up her picture. Then the three genin left the forest. They decided to eat dinner at Ikarachu's. Once they were sat at the bar and their ramen ordered, Sakura and Haru chatted while Naruto listened. They talked about the training they just had and, more importantly, Kakashi and Naruto's fight. What possessed you to charge Kakashi-sensei like that, Naruto? Asked Haru. Naruto gave a short shrug. I wanted to test myself, he said. Well, you got your butt kicked, said Haru. Naruto shrugged again and turned to the ramen Ayam had just set down in front of him. After eating for a few minutes, Naruto turned to look at his friends. They were chatting happily, smiling and laughing at the things they were discussing. Sakura had scooted his stool closer to Naruto and was slightly leaning on him. After their ramen, the three friends stood and began to head home. Naruto was in the middle, Sakura to his right, her left hand laced in his right, and her right arm holding onto his bicep. Haru was to his left, both hands behind his head. They decided to spend some time as a team at Naruto's house. They wanted to spend time together, just the three of them, to breathe before really jumping into the hard training for the Chunin finals. They went up the stairs to his apartment and stepped into his small living room. After a few hours, they all decided to crash in Naruto's living room. Kakashi Hatake sat at the village dango shop with his favorite type of dumpling in front of him. Long time no see, Kakashi, came a voice from behind him. He turned to see an elderly man with hair white as the snow and a red gi. And Master Jiraiya? He said, completely stunned. What are you doing here? You haven't been in the village in years. The man sighed and stepped around table. Honestly, I hadn't planned to come back this soon, but it's been taken out of my hands, Jiraiya said. You see, I've been keeping tabs on that pain in the neck Orochimaru ever since he left the village all those years ago. And now I know he's coming back to the village, if he's not here already. Kakashi let out a gasp. Are you serious, Master Jiraiya? He asked. I'm afraid that I am, he said, crossing his arms. So that's what brings you back? Asked Kakashi. Yes and no, said Jiraiya. I once made a promise to Minato and Kushina that I would watch over Naruto if anything happened to them. It's time I made good on my promise. Kakashi looked at him dumbfounded. But, he stuttered. Kakashi, it's not my desire to steal your student, said Jiraiya, just help with a technique here or there. I know there are many techniques you can still teach him. It's more than that, said Kakashi. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Naruto has recently received a Sharingan eye and 2 affinities. As near as I can tell, Naruto has 3 chakra affinities. 3? Asked Jiraiya. No, Kakashi, that's not possible. I didn't think it was either, but Master Jiraiya, he does, I swear to you, said Kakashi. 3? You're sure? Asked Jiraiya. Yes, near as I can tell, wind, lightning, and fire, said Kakashi, which brings me to my next point. I want to teach him Chidori, but his chakra control is quite there yet. Jiraiya was silent for a while. I may have the perfect solution, said Jiraiya. The summoning jutsu will be the perfect way for him to focus his chakra. Perfect, said Kakashi. I'll let you take over with the training for the summoning jutsu, then I can teach him Chidori, and after that, well, we'll see where it goes from there. Wait, Jiraiya suddenly burst out. Did you say Naruto has Sharingan? Yes, said Kakashi, running his hand over his forehead. 9 months ago, my team and I were on a mission into the land of waves. It went wrong, it went so wrong, Jiraiya. We were attacked by a rouge ninja named Zabuza, him and his apprentice. Sasuke and Naruto engaged the apprentice in mortal combat. Sasuke was killed. With his last breath, he gave Naruto his Sharingan to replace the eye Naruto lost in the battle. Ever since then he's trained to use it. That's quite a story, said Jiraiya. It's all true, said Kakashi. No, I know, said Jiraiya. Kakashi, Naruto has a long road ahead of him. Naruto is going to have to learn that because of who he is, he's going to have to spend his entire watching his back. Kakashi ran a hand through his silver hair and let out a heavy sigh. I know, He said we'll just focus on his training for now. Good idea, said Jiraiya. We'll focus on the summoning jutsu for now and then we'll have to see what happens. Naruto woke up with a stiff neck. Sat up straight on his couch and stretched, trying to loosen his neck. He had spent the night on his couch and was now regretting it. He rubbed out his neck and walked toward the kitchen, being careful to step over Haru on the way there. After fishing a glass out of his cupboard, he filled it with water from his tap and downed it in 3 gulps. It did little for his neck, so he filled another glass and drank half of it. He walked out of the kitchen with the glass in hand just in time to find Haru stirring from his spot on the floor. Ah man, moaned Haru, what time is it? Naruto took a swig of water and looked at the clock. Just about noon, he said. Shit, said Haru, what time did we go to bed last night? I don't know, said Naruto, like 4 maybe. He took another swig of water and walked down the hall towards his bedroom. He inched the door open and peered in. What he found left him completely speechless. Sakura lay in his bed. She was on her back, her pink hair splayed out around her. Naruto leaned on the door frame, watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest as she slumbered. He took another sip of water, debating with himself whether or not to wake her. They had to meet Kakashi for training in 2 hours and Naruto knew she would want to go home first. Hey, whispered Haru from behind him, I'm gonna head home. I'll see you for training. Naruto nodded and turned back to his sleeping teammate. Steeling himself, he approached her bedside and gently sat down. He lightly shook her shoulder. Sakura, it's time to wake up, he said. His soft emerald eyes fluttered open. Naruto? She asked, slightly confused. Yes, he said, it's about time to get up, it's already noon. Oh, okay, she said. I'll leave you to get dressed, he said, standing up and leaving the room, grabbing a change of cloths on his way out. He changed in the bathroom. He put on a pair of black pants and a midnight blue tee. He exited the bathroom just as Sakura was leaving his room. She gave him a soft smile. Sleep well? He asked her. She nodded. You have a comfortable bed, she replied. He smiled. I'm glad, he said, we should swing by your place before going on to training. She nodded and together they left the apartment. They quickly made their way across the village, Sakura holding his right hand in her left, her right hand on his bicep. In time they made it to Sakura's house. You want to come in? She asked. He nodded and followed her inside. Oh, Naruto, said Aki as he stepped in. We haven't seen you around here for quite a while. Yeah, sorry about that, he said, I've been kinda busy. Oh, that's okay, replied Aki. Oh, I see you took your bandages off, but you still wear your headband over your eye. Are you still injured? No, you see, I actually have Sasuke's Sharingan in my right eye. He said I keep it covered because I can't deactivate it. Ah, I see, said Aki, a bit confused. Well, come and have some tea. We can't, Mom, said Sakura. We have to meet Kakashi-sensei for training. Oh, okay, fine, said Aki. Just come back after. It's been too long since we saw Naruto. Sure, Mom, I will, said Sakura, and with that the 2 young ninja left the Haruno home. They were met with a very unfamiliar sight upon entering their usual training field. Not only was Haru there waiting for them, but Kakashi, and with him was an old white-haired man. Naruto, said Kakashi as they approached, you won't be training with the rest of the team, for now you're to go with Master Jiraiya. He's got a couple jutsu he wants to teach you. Okay? Said Naruto, raising an eyebrow and looking at the old man. The man in question gave him a goofy smile. Alright, said Jiraiya as he and Naruto stood next to the river. First I'll show you the jutsu I want you to learn. He quickly flashed through 5 signs before slamming his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu! He shouted. There was a cloud of smoke, and as it cleared, Naruto saw the old man standing on a red toad wish, a green and red skull. Take the scroll. Naruto did as he was instructed and unrolled it on the ground. That scroll is a contract with the summoning toads, explained Jiraiya, passed down from earlier generations of ninja. Sign your name in your own blood and stamp the fingerprints of one hand on under it. Then build up your chakra and slam it on the ground where you want to perform the summoning. The signs are boar, dog, bird, monkey, sheep. Naruto let out a heavy sigh as he drew one of his kunai off his hip and sliced open his right thumb. He quickly wrote his name and stamped his right fingerprints on the scroll beneath his name. Good, now do it, said Jiraiya in a stern voice. Stealing his resolve, Naruto quickly flashed through the 5 signs and slammed his palm on the ground. Ninja art, summoning jutsu, he yelled. He disappeared in a cloud of smoke, only to reappear standing on a blue toad with yellow stripes running down his back. Amazing! Thought Jiraiya to summon a toad that size on his first try. No one's done that since Minato. This boy, with Sharingan and the right determination, he could easily surpass his father. What the hell? Exclaimed the toad. What are you doing over there, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya smirked from where he was on the red toad's back. It wasn't me who summoned you, said the sage. Really, then who? Asked the toad. He's on your back, said Jiraiya. Jump down, Naruto, let him see you. Naruto let out a sigh and jumped off the toad's back. Who are you? Asked the toad in genuine curiosity. Naruto, replied the young man. Well, nice to meet you, Naruto, said the toad. My name is Gamamochi. Nice to make your acquaintance, said Naruto. Jiraiya wore a small frown. He'd hoped the first meeting between Naruto and his new friend would go smoother, but this boy was more withdrawn than he thought. Gamamochi's face a bit, and he disappeared in a poof. Naruto, scolded Jiraiya. Gamamochi is a very shy spirit. When you act like that, it hurts his feeling, runs him down. That's something you should probably work on. Yeah, maybe, said Naruto, partially ashamed of himself. He seemed to have a knack for upsetting people these days. He slouched his shoulders, tucked his hands in his pockets, and started walking back to Kakashi. Naruto! Came Jiraiya's stern voice. Do not walk away. Do the jutsu again. Naruto took his hands out of his pockets. He bit his thumb and flashed through the 5 signs again. Summoning jutsu. Once again a plum of smoke. Naruto appeared standing on Gamamochi's back. So summon me back already? He said. Yeah, said Naruto, jumping off his back. Look, Gamamochi, I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to be rude or hurtful. It is nice to meet you. Gamamochi's face lit up. A smile played on Jiraiya's face, and he nodded his head. You too, Naruto-san, said Gamamochi. Gamamochi, said Jiraiya. Naruto may be summoning you off and on the next few days, just to get some practice. Please bear with us. Not a problem, Jiraiya-sama, said Gamamochi. But we're done with this for the day, said Jiraiya. Okay, see you around, Naruto-san, he said. See you later, Gamamochi, replied Naruto. With that the toad poofed away. Okay, said Jiraiya, now that we have that down, we need to move on. Naruto, I doubt you're even aware of it, but your body houses 2 chakras. 2 chakras? Asked Naruto, a bit dumbfounded. Exactly, 2, said Jiraiya. One is the one your body naturally produces, and the other comes from something else. The Ninetails, said Naruto, getting a faraway look. Yes, said Jiraiya, the 9-tailed fox. And with training you can learn to control it. Naruto didn't seem to like the idea of controlling the 9-tails chakra. Don't worry, I'll be here to help you along. The only time I used the 9-tails chakra, I lost my eyes, said Naruto. I lose control of my body. I don't like it. With the training we're going to be doing, you'll be funneling it into jutsu, said Jiraiya, making the jutsu you use now even more powerful. Naruto still seemed a bit uneasy but nodded. Good, first we need to expend body's own chakra, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded. Setting his mouth in a hard line, he built up chakra in his chest just like he had countless time before. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He put his fingers to the outer edge of his mouth and exhaled. The fireball was massive, the biggest one he'd ever made. He poured more and more chakra into it, draining himself fast. In 2 minutes almost all his chakra was gone. Excellent, said Jiraiya, now try building up more chakra. Naruto did as he was instructed. No good, he said, it's just the usual chakra. Jiraiya stroked his chin for a minute, trying to think of a solution. We'll just have to keep working on it, said Jiraiya, but for now it's getting late, we should call it a day. Naruto nodded and headed back to his team. Hey Naruto, said Haru as Naruto approached them. Naruto waved in greeting. Sakura started to jog towards him. How'd it go? She asked. Learn anything? Yes, said Naruto, a summoning jutsu, made a new friend. Oh? Asked Sakura. Yeah, I'll show you later, said Naruto, and with that the team and their sensei left the training field. Over the next few days Naruto worked on his summoning jutsu and controlling the 9-tails chakra. He made very little progress. Jiraiya helped as much as he could, but he knew for Naruto to do this he needed to do it on his own. Damn it, said Naruto as he dropped to one knee after another failed attempt to build up any of the fox's chakra. I'm not getting anywhere with this, he said, throwing a stone into the river. Naruto, said Jiraiya, you've come as far as you can with this, it's time to move on. What do you mean? Asked Naruto. You see, Naruto, said Kakashi from where he was sitting next to Jiraiya. Each thing Master Jiraiya and I have trained you has been to learn something else, he said. With the tree climbing and water walking exercises you learn to control your chakra and release it in a steady amount. Sharingan helped you limit the amount you use but still put it to effect, therefore not wasting any. With the summoning jutsu you learn to control greater amounts of chakra. Now we're moving on. Moving on? Asked Naruto, but I haven't even mastered the summoning jutsu. Gamamochi only come out once every 3 tries. Every time else it's that annoying Gamakichi. You've got it down enough to move ahead, said Jiraiya, but I fully expect you to keep working on the summoning jutsu. Fine, it's settled. I'll work on the summoning jutsu. Jiraiya-sensei taught me and learned this new technique. Alright, said Kakashi, this new technique, you'll be learning from me. We have 2 weeks. Say goodbye to the others, you won't be seeing them for a while. What? Said Sakura. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto needs to focus on his training, said Kakashi. He needs to be away from her. He and I are going into the mountains. We'll be back in time for the finals. Sakura hugged Naruto, letting out a small whimper. Do your best, okay? She whispered. I'll be waiting for you. Come back stronger, okay? Naruto gave her a small smile. It's a promise, he said. Sakura stood in line next to Haru, looking around for any signs of Naruto. He and Kakashi had left 2 weeks ago. Kakashi said they'd be back in time for the finals, but it was starting in 20 minutes. She looked worriedly at Haru, who looked back with any equally worried look. What do you think? Asked Haru. You think they'll get back in time? I don't know, said Sakura. Kakashi said they'd be back, but there's no sign of them. She was about to say something else when the crowd around them exploded in cheers. She glanced around and finally looked at the entrance. Walking into the gates was Kakashi and Naruto. Naruto had changed. His hair was even longer and even more shaggy. It reminded her of someone. She slowly recalled a picture she'd once seen. A young man in his early 20s, with long shaggy blonde hair wearing a white coat. Naruto looked exactly like the 4th Hokage. In addition to his hair, Naruto's clothes had changed. He was now wearing white pants and sky blue shirt. His black thong-style sandals were the same, and the blue handband on his face was the same too. Hey Naruto, said Sakura as he walked up next to them. Hey guys, he replied, giving them a small smile. Sorry I'm late. That's alright, you had us worried though, said Haru. Kakashi walked up to his students. Hey guys, sorry I didn't stick around for your training, he said. That's alright, said Haru. I found a master in Earth-style ninjutsu. I've picked up quite a few new tricks. Just watch me, Kakashi-sensei. I'll show you how much I've learned. Good, said Kakashi. I know you'll all make me proud. Naruto wore a smug smirk as he watched his teacher walk away. Alright, listen up, said the proctor. It wasn't the same proctor they'd had last time. Here, he held up a bracket board. Study it quickly. Haru was fighting Neji, Shikamaru was next fighting Temari, then it was Naruto against the monster Gaara. Sakura was after that fighting Lee, and the last fight was Kankuro versus Shino. Oh no, Naruto, said Sakura. I'll be fine, he said. I was hoping for this. Besides, we all have new tricks we want to show Kakashi. Haru, I know you'll do your best. Haru steeled his face. Right, he said. While Haru and his opponent remained in the grounds, Naruto, Sakura and the rest of the finalists went into the stands to watch the fight. Naruto and Sakura sat with the rest of the 9 rookies. Sakura leaning against him and his arm around her. Naruto hadn't realized how much he'd misses her until the moment he laid his eyes on her walking into the arena. Haru stood across the arena glaring at Neji. This boy had tried to kill a comrade. Haru wasn't going to stand for that. Begin, said the proctor. Haru pulled the demon wind off his back and flipped it open. The 2 ninja charged each other. Naruto pulled his hand band from his Sharingan. He watched as each of Neji's chakra-enhanced blows barely missed Haru or were blocked by the large shuriken in his hand. Haru flipped backwards as a strike passed over him by inches. He's okay, said Naruto. Neji hasn't hit him yet. Sakura let out a sigh of relief as the 2 fought up and down the arena. He's gotten a lot better, pointed out Sakura. He has, said Naruto, but all he can do right now is dodge. With Neji's ability to drive chakra into his body, if Haru take one direct hit, he's finished. Haru spun under an open palm strike for Neji and passed the shuriken in his hand across Neji's leg. Neji stumbled, but I'm impressed, he said. It's been a long time since I was cut. Haru said nothing as he drew back his arm and hurled the shuriken and flashed through hand signs. Neji dodged the shuriken easily and came up changing. Earth-style, stone shuriken, yelled Haru. Thousands of square floating rocks rose into the air surrounding Neji. It's over, said Naruto. The first shuriken hit Neji and stopped dead. What? Exclaimed Naruto. Neji began to spin at a high speed, surrounding himself in a dome of chakra. What was that? He asked. Rotation, said Tenten to his left. Normally ninja can send bursts of chakra from certain point in their body. Their hands, feet mostly. Niji, however, can expel chakra from all over his body. Then he spins at a high speed, making any attack launched against him rendered completely useless. Haru's going to have a tough time getting through that, said Sakura. Remember what Kakashi-sensei says, said Naruto. Even though we're not on the battlefield with him, our teamwork will make him stronger. Have faith in each other, and we will grow stronger as a team and as individuals. Behind Naruto, Kakashi wore a proud smile. There was hope for Naruto yet. Haru's breath was heavy. He'd poured a lot of chakra into that jutsu. It was his second best technique. He was sure he had Niji. Niji's smirk widened. Did you seriously think it would be that easy? He taunted. Haru snatched the demon wind out of the air as it returned, collapsed it, and sheathed it. He glared into Niji's eyes, the veins surrounding them engorged due to the massive amounts of chakra being pumped through them. Face it, said Niji, your fate has already been decided. It was your destiny to lose today. It was decided the very moment I became your opponent. I for one believe we make our own destinies, said Haru. Just accept it, said Niji, you're a failure. You always have been, and you always will be. You're wrong, said Haru. Enough, said Niji, this ends now. Niji raced at Haru, a buried and open-palmed strike right into the middle of Haru's chest. Haru hit the ground hard. He lay there for a minute before climbing back to his feet. Still think you can change your destiny? Said Niji. Fine, I'll show you exactly what happens to those who go against fate. Niji crouched in a low stance. Gentle fist art, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. He charged Haru and stuck him with 2 sharp strikes with his index and middle fingers. 2 palms. He hit his with 2 more 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. 64 palms. Each strike hit Haru directly. Haru stumbled back, clutching his chest. I have struck every single one of your chakra points, said Niji. This match is over. This time it was Haru's turn to smirk. He started flashing through hand signs. It's useless, yelled Niji as he charged. Earth style, 6 stone pillars, shouted Haru. 6 pillars of earth rose from the ground surrounding Niji tightly. He could barely move, then walls of stone extended out of them, attaching to the pillar next to it. Niji looked up to see Haru standing on one of the pillars, his arms crossed over his chest. But how? He asked. I blocked off your chakra. Earth began to fall from Haru's body. He encased himself in a layer of earth, said Sakura, amazed. You see, said Haru, you were so caught up in your preachings of destiny and focusing on my chakra points, you failed to notice that the last time I hit the ground I covered myself in a thin shell of earth. I knew it couldn't be too thick or those eye of yours would see it. But it was thick enough to guard against your attack. I know all about the Hyuga and their ability to stop the flow of chakra. This is my best technique. Stone spikes from each pillar and wall. I can put a ceiling on this thing too. You so much as move a muscle, these spikes will impale you from 12 different angels. Admit it, you've lost. Niji searched his surroundings looking for any possible means of escape. He quickly found that there was no means, and Haru was right. He'd lost. I yield, he said in a downcast voice. The winner is Haru Muri, said the proctor. The crowd erupted. Naruto and Sakura clapped as well. The pillars and walls sank into the ground, leaving Haru standing in front of Niji. Niji looked tired and ashamed. I guess it wasn't your destiny to lose here, said Niji, but mine. Haru clapped him on the shoulder. Niji said, causing the older to look at him. 4 months ago I never would have had even a prayer of beating you. I was weak and had no confidence in myself. But I learned, we can do anything we set our mind to, if we just believe. Naruto taught me that. Hey, and you should have an easier time of it than me. He let go and began to walk away as Niji stared confusedly at his back. After all, unlike me, he said and looked over his shoulder, you're not a failure. With that, Haru left the arena to join his team. Good job, said Sakura, pulling Haru into a hug. Yes, well done, said Naruto, clapping him on the shoulder. Haru wore a goofy grin. That jutsu was mighty impressive, said Kakashi from behind him. I'm extremely proud of you, Haru. The next match is Shikamaru, Nara, and Temari, yelled the proctor. Will the combatants please come down? There was a whirl of wind. Temari came down from somewhere riding her fan. Moments later, Shikamaru walked into the arena, his hand tucked lazily into his pockets. The two opponents faced each other. Begin, said Genma. Temari was off to the races, charging right at Shikamaru. She leaped into the air and brought fan down towards Shikamaru's head. When the dust cleared, Shikamaru was nowhere to be seen. Is he hiding? Asked Haru, to no one in particular. I dunno, said Sakura, looking around the arena. A dark thing went skirting across the ground. A shadow. Temari rapidly retreated. Just as it was about to reach her, it stopped. Looks like that's the extent of his range, said Naruto. Temari smirked at him and drew a line in the dirt with her fan. She looked at him. It was then she noticed there was something different about him. His jacket was missing. She saw something starting to form on the ground, another shadow. She looked into the air. He'd made a parachute out of his jacket, headband, and a kunai. She ran to her left, past the proctor. His shadow stopped and began to retreat. Just as she turned to face him, she froze. He got her, said Naruto. Temari looked around, trying to figure out where she went wrong. She saw her mistake. He'd extended his shadow with the jacket and followed her as she fled past the proctor. He'd then used the proctor's shadow as a stepping stone and caught her. Shikamaru walked them to the center of the arena. He rose his hand. To hell with it, he said, I give up. All Naruto's entire team could do was blink in disbelief. What just happened? Asked Haru. I'm not sure, replied Naruto. The crowd began booing. The winner is Temari. The boos intensified, getting louder and louder. Shikamaru walked out of the arena and into the stands. Well then, said Gemna, let's begin the next match, Naruto Uzumaki and Gaara of the Sand. Naruto stood from his place in the stands and began to head for the arena. He stopped when something hit him in the back. It was Sakura, hugging him from behind. Be careful, she whispered, please be careful and come back to me safe. I will, said Naruto. Promise? She asked. Promise, confirmed Naruto, and reluctantly she let him go. Naruto left the stands and walked into the arena. Gaara was already waiting for him. I have to say, I've been looking forward to this, said Naruto. I feel the same, said Gaara. When you're ready, begin, said Genma. Sand began to pour from the gourd, driving its way into the ground. I see, thought Naruto, he's using the sand to create more sand for the earth itself. Naruto pulled his headband from his eye, the Sharingan locked in on Gaara, watching his every move. Soon Gaara was surrounded by a cloud of the sand from the earth. His own chakra-infused sand slipped back into the gourd. Perfect. Naruto flashed through a familiar set of hand signs. Fire style, fire ball jutsu, the jet of fire erupted from his mouth, engulfing the sand. As it died down, the crystallized sand crashed to the ground. Ah, ingenious, said Lee. In Naruto's abandoned spot, he turned the sand to glass with fire. Naruto raced at Gaara, the sand poured from the gourd and attacked Naruto. Naruto dodged through the clouds of shifting sand and then delivered a hard right side kick to Gaara's chest. The boy stumbled. It should have knocked him off his feet, but he seemed weighed down by something. Naruto flipped backwards and did a series of backhand springs to avoid the sand that was bearing down on him. He came a sliding stop and flashed through more hand signs. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. The 20 fiery missiles raced at Gaara and crashed into his sand defenses. This sand, however, did not turn to glass. As I thought, that sand has so much of his chakra infused in it that it can't be turned to glass. He stood and ran at Gaara, hurling 8 shuriken at him before vanishing from view. He reappeared behind Gaara. The sand took kin of the shuriken. Gaara turned to face Naruto. Naruto delivered 8 punches in quick succession, each strike driving Gaara a bit further in the air. He ended the melee with a hard leaping spin kick that should have knocked him unconscious. Gaara hit the ground and was left back to his feet by his sand. When he looked back at Naruto, bit off his face seemed to be falling away. It was sand. I understand now. Naruto looked down at both his fists. His knuckles were bleeding. He encases himself in sand, like Haru did with the earth. That's why he seems so heavy. He got sand armor. Gaara went of the offensive. Clouds of sand streaked towards Naruto. Thanks to the Sharingan, Naruto was able to read and anticipate each attack. However, he was so busy dodging he couldn't attack. He crossed his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Another Naruto popped into existence and continued to dodge while the real Naruto vanished from sight. The sand finally pierced Naruto and the clone disappeared. Gaara let out a gasp of surprise. However, it was cut short when a hard kick collided with the side of his head. Gaara was knocked to the ground again. This time, when the sand rose him in the air, it began to encase him. Soon the sand formed a cocoon around him. Naruto looked at the cocoon for a minute. Then he charged. Spears of sand came from the cocoon, stopping Naruto short. He leaped away as they crashed into the ground. He landed on the spears and began to run up them. He drew his 2 kunai and stabbed the cocoon. It was hard as rock. Only one way around this, he thought, and leaped off the cocoon as more spears came from directly underneath him. He raced away from the cocoon and sprinted up the wall. Near the top he skidded to a halt. 3 hand signs: ox, rabbit, monkey. Haru looked back at his sensei. Kakashi-sensei, he said. What is Naruto doing? Kakashi gave him his one-eyed smile. Just watch, said Kakashi, but don't blink. Flashback. Okay, Naruto, this technique I'm going to teach you will be your most powerful attack, for now anyway, explained Kakashi. As we're covered so far, you learned to channel chakra, use mass amounts of chakra, not waste extra chakra, plus we've built up your speed to an almost inhuman level. This technique requires all that, plus something else. Something else? Asked Naruto. Correct, focus, said Kakashi, the ability to focus all the chakra of the attack into a single point of impact. Watch. Kakashi blazed through the ox, rabbit, monkey signs and ended up holding his right wrist palm up. For a second nothing happened, then chakra began to actually become visible. It looked like lightning. The lightning blade, explained Kakashi. He turned to a large boulder behind him and slammed his hand into it. The chakra tore a massive crater into the boulder. Whoa, said Naruto. Now start by gathering a large amount of chakra in your hand, said Kakashi. Naruto did as he was instructed and poured almost half his chakra reserves into his hand. Now the signs, said Kakashi again. Naruto obeyed. He held his right wrist, but unlike Kakashi, his palm was down. He felt a jolt of electricity arc between his thumb and middle finger, then the unexpected happened. The chakra that was just starting to take shape exploded. Naruto was knocked onto his back. Not enough focus, said Kakashi again. Naruto climbed to his feet, flashed through the signs and built up his chakra. More focus, said Kakashi. Concentrate. I am constant. Naruto was cut off by another explosion. Again he wounded you on his back. Damn it! He exclaimed, jumping to his feet. Kakashi opened his mouth to say something, but the look on Naruto's face told him Naruto was in grindstone mode. He would be out here for 4 days straight if that's what it took. Heaving a sigh, Kakashi settled against the boulder behind him to read, the sound of explosions and curses his only company. Naruto wiped the dripping sweat from his brow. He'd been at this for 3 days now, only sleeping when it was absolutely necessary. He did the ox, rabbit, monkey hand signs and built up his chakra in his hand. The electricity arced across his fingers. He focused on the center on his palm. Slow, the lightning grew and grew up until it covered his whole hand. Yes, he said and spun around and smashed his hand into the boulder next to the crater Kakashi had made 3.5 days earlier. The lightning dissipated, no crater, no nothing. It was like it had never been there in the first place. What the? He stared at his hand, confused. Looks like you've got the first step down, said Kakashi as he walked up the hill towards Naruto. But remember what I said? Focus at the point of impact. He placed his hand on the boulder. This is the point of impact. You have to transfer the energy in your hand to the face of the boulder, and do it without letting the lightning lose any potency or force. Right, said Naruto. He formed the seals and built the lightning in his hand. Then turned to the boulder and drove his hand at it. Halfway there the lightning fizzled out and Naruto hit the boulder with a curled fingered palm strike, and it didn't feel good. Keep the flow going and at the last minute add an extra burst of chakra and drive all the energy into the boulder, said Kakashi. Naruto nodded and tried again. The lightning hit the rock and made a tiny little nick. Damn it! Yelled Naruto. That was closer, said Kakashi. Well, you seem to have the general idea. Dinner is at 7 if you're hungry. And with that the copy ninja walked back down the hill toward the little inn he and his student were staying in. Yeah, thanks a lot, muttered Naruto. He tried again and again, but even time he tried he failed. One time the nick would get bigger, then the next time, it wouldn't work at all. For 5 days he tried. Naruto sat on the ground gasping for breath. He was exhausted, more than exhausted. Sweat poured off his body, pooling on the ground. I need a bigger burst of chakra, he said aloud. That's all I need. He leaped to his feet. Ox, rabbit, monkey. The lightning built up in his hand. He raced at the boulder and drove his hand at it. A split second before his hand hit the boulder, I pictured a blot of lightning shooting down his arm and out his palm. The jutsu hit the boulder. The rock resisted for a second and exploded. Yes, exclaimed Naruto. Good, now let's keep working on it, said Kakashi. End flashback. He gripped his wrist, palm down. Nothing happened for a second, then the lightning began arcing, the chirping ensued. Wow, said Haru, he's never done that before. It's amazing, his chakra is visible, said Sakura, but what is it, and what is the weird noise? It's a jab, said Guy from next to Kakashi, but this jab is unlike any other. Naruto held his right arm out to his side and sprinted down the wall. It's the only weapon in Kakashi's arsenal he didn't copy from someone else, said Guy. Naruto hit the ground running, racing at Gaara's cocoon. It's a technique solely bases on the user's speed and ability to focus his chakra at the point of impact, explained Guy. When these two components, speed and focus, reach a certain level, the chakra becomes visible and give off the distinct noise you hear, like birds chirping. Naruto dodged through the sand spears, bringing his arm up in a cocked-like position. It is this sound that give the technique its name, said Guy. Naruto's hand hit the sand and drove through it. He hit something soft, driving partially through it. Chidori, said Guy. 1,000 birds, also known as lightning blade. Lightning blade? Questioned Haru. Why is that? It's got that name because Kakashi once used it to cut a bolt of lightning in half before it could touch the ground, answered Guy. The genin were speechless. Naruto gripped what he now knew was Gaara's shoulder. The sand began to pour away, revealing Gaara, his left shoulder torn to shreds. Damn, thought Naruto, I missed. He let go and leaped away when he saw the crazed look in Gaara's eye. Gaara's right hand gripped his left shoulder, and he pulled it away, looking at it in bewilderment. What is this? He mumbled, then realization seemed to hit him. Blood. It's my blood, he screamed. Naruto readied himself for an attack but faltered when he heard an explosion. He looked to his left where he knew the Hokage and Kazekage sat. The balcony was covered in smoke. Gaara's siblings and sensei joined him on the ground. Get Gaara out of here, said their sensei. The two obeyed immediately. Naruto faltered, unsure of what to do. He was joined by his own teacher and teammates, with Genma as well. Naruto, Haru, Sakura, said Kakashi, go after those three, stop them, kill them if you have to. But how? Asked Haru. We have no way of know which way they went. Kakashi pressed his kunai to his thumb. Summoning jutsu. He pulled his hand from the ground and there sat a pug-like dog. Pokken here will lead you. Right, said Naruto, lead the way, Pokken. You got it, replied the dog and leaped off the three genin hot on his heels. So you sand ninja broke the treaty, said Kakashi addressing the sand sensei, but I can't see the sand doing this on their own. Who's helping you? Or are you doing the helping? Don't know, said the sand sensei, and don't care, I already killed one of you. Figured I'd finish off the rest. So you're the one who killed Hate, said Kakashi. The former proctor's body had been found the night before on a rooftop in the eastern edge of the village. The punk you coughed all the time? Asked the sand ninja. Yeah, that was me. Then I think it's only fair, said Kakashi, forming the ox hand sign. I return the favor. Naruto stretched his body flat as he leaped between two tree branches following Kakashi's dog, Pakken. The miniature pug had led them at a breakneck pace in pursuit of Gaara and his siblings, the result being that they were closing in on the trio fast. It was probably due to the older two sand ninja being slowed by dragging Gaara along with them. Naruto looked to his left and right at Sakura and Haru. Haru's face was a bit pale, having come out of a fight with Niji. His chakra was down below half, so the discolor in his face was understandable. Sakura on the other was looking just fine, a bit red from the insane pace Naruto and Pakken was setting, but other than that she was looking fine. Naruto glanced at their canine companion. He had to admit the animal had impressed him. Its ability to pick up Gaara's scent so quickly and then move this fast was defiantly something that they could use in the future. Pakken, hollered Naruto, how close would you say we are? The small pug looked over his shoulder. We should catch up to them in roughly 5 minutes, the pug announced. You better get yourself ready however you need to. Naruto nodded the pug before glancing at each of his teammates. Sakura steeled her resolve. Haru closed his eyes, focusing on replenishing as much of his chakra as possible. Naruto, on the other hand, began gathering his own chakra in his right arm, fingertip to shoulder joint, just like Kakashi had taught him. The maneuver he was about to attempt could give the jump on their opponents they needed. He flashed through his hand signs: ox, rabbit, monkey. It was tougher than he thought, charging up Chidori and running through the canopy off the vast forest surrounding the village. He stumbled once, nearly falling to the forest floor, but his quick reflexes enabled him to catch a lower branch and hurtle back into the canopy. Naruto, are you okay? Asked Sakura. Fine, came his short response. It hurt him to be so short and blunt with Sakura, but he had to focus on charging his attack. Look sharp, guys, said Pakken, we're almost there. Naruto put all but a small amount of focus into charging his move. Finally, when they nearly caught the sand ninja, the telltale noise of his Chidori began. He heard Sakura's sharp gasp, causing him to look back at them. I'm going to launch a surprise attack with my Chidori, he told them, causing them look at him in concern. It's the only way we can throw them off balance. Think about it, you know it's true. The other two members of Team 7 couldn't argue with his logic. Naruto led the charge of the three into a large clearing where the sand shinobi were resting. Sakura and Haru remained in the shadow of the trees while Naruto leaped into the open, bearing down on the three wielding his Chidori. Flying through the air, Naruto zeroed in on Gaara and slammed the Chidori. The impact created a massive explosion and threw a huge dust cloud. When it settled, Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro all stood facing Naruto, who was standing in the middle of a crater. The three had managed to dodge it, barely. "Well, well," said Kankuro in a condescending tone, "if it isn't that kid with that crazy eye." "Shut up, Kankuro," said Gaara as he drew himself to full height. The wound in his shoulder was still bleeding, but he seemed to have gained most of his strength back. "Sure, Gaara," said Kankuro. "But really, kid, what do you intend to do, fight all three of us alone?" asked Temari. As soon as she finished her sentence, Sakura and Haru appeared on either side of Naruto. "We'll leave Gaara to you, Naruto," said Haru. "We'll handle the other two." "Oh really, you're gonna handle us?" asked Kankuro. "We'll see about that." The four shinobi leaped into the air, leaving Naruto and Gaara to square off against one another. The two shinobi stared at each other, Gaara crazed eyes boring into Naruto's mixed-matched eyes. Normally no one would dare meet the gaze of Sharingan. Gaara, however, was so far gone, Naruto's hypnotic eye had no effect on the crazed sand ninja. "So you choose to face me?" said Gaara in a low tone. "I will stop you," said Naruto. "I don't care if you do act like a demon, I have the real thing inside of me." "A demon inside of you, huh?" asked Gaara. "My demon is as real as yours is, and even now that demon seeks blood, it compels me, it cared for me when the rest of my village pushed me away. I was to be the Sand Village's ultimate weapon, and so when I was still in my mother womb my unborn self was fused with the Sand Sprite Shikaku. However, as my power grew, they all came to fear me and several attempts were made on my life. You see, I killed the woman who gave birth to me. I was born a monster, and I will kill you. That is my purpose, my reason for living lies solely in the killing of others." "I don't care if that's what you believe," said Naruto. "You will not harm the people of this village." "Very well, Naruto Uzumaki," said Gaara. "You are in my way, therefore you are my prey." With that, the sand carried in Gaara's gourd sprang forth at Naruto. Naruto back flipped out of his way as it slammed into where he was standing. While in the air, he flashed through his hand signs. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. The massive fireball was the size of a small house and engulfed Gaara, setting the field ablaze. He landed and quickly pulled his kunai off his hips. As the large fireball dissipated, Gaara stood in the center, but he changed. His right arm had become a massive sword of claw. He'd used it as a shield and protected himself from Naruto's attack. Naruto wasted no time in charging his opponent. Gaara attacked with his massive arm, driving Naruto several feet back, where he rolled across the ground several times. He came with more hand signs. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. The 15-minute fireballs raced at Gaara, hiding him from all angles. Gaara again blocked with his arm. Damn it, he thought jutsu of this level aren't